Dennis Sperling.
In the city where the lights don't sleep, Uncle D got the vibe so deep. Representing men strong and free. Dennis Sperling's the king of the spree. In the streets where the rhythm flows, black men rising, that's how it goes. Uncle D got the truth to show. In his heart, that's where the fire glows. Late night tuning, light up the stream. Dennis Sperling, wisdom gleam. Voices whisper truth and insight. In his podcast, feel the light. Harmony in every word. Truth and laughter you've heard.
Well, that's all right.
Wave after wave of smooth delight. Dennis brings the dark to light.
That's the Blizzard, baby!
Share the tales unfold. Stories pour like morning gold. Feeling the wisdom is building. Subscribing like time after time.
Black men, I want to salute you. Your incarceration rate is down. The education rate is up. We went from, we are doing great for ourselves. So you should salute yourself. Shout out to all the brothers out there, whether you're a truck driver or engineer, whether you're an electrician or garbage man, a doctor, a lawyer. If you're a hard-working brother, if you fresh out the penitentiary, but you on your grind and you doing it legal and you trying to make amends for yourself, man, I salute you too, brothers. God bless you. This is Uncle D, and you know, I'm out.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. You guys make sure you hit the number 1 button. Big shout out to Big Bass Life. Thank you so much for your hard work, brother. I always appreciate your beautiful music. Hey, man, I am glad to have you guys here today, and we are going to continue our conversation, breaking down what we see happening around us. As you guys know, my name is Dennis Sperling, also known as Uncle D, also known as the Blizzard King. And, you know, I find what's going on fascinating. Now, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fill you guys in on what's going on. I got a few videos I'd like to share with you all. And for the most part, you see people in an uproar. Now, the main thing that's happening right now since Donald Trump's election is that, well, gosh, man, I mean, the ICE raids. I mean, can we can't get around the ICE raids, can we? I mean, not at all. This is a video that I thought was interesting. I want to kind of share this with you guys. Well, let me first do this. Let me be courteous. Big shout out to Mark the Freelancer. Big shout out to Red Sigma. Shout out to Guy Metal. A Gunmetal Guy USA. Shout out to all of my wrench mob guys, man. It's always good to have you guys in here. I see my man Electric Agitator has been here. Shout out to everybody. We haven't got any super chats or cash apps yet, so I don't have anybody to give a shout out on that regard. But I'm sure as soon as we get them in, I'll be shouting you guys out because I certainly do appreciate the contributions, and it lets me know that you're actually learning something. If you're not learning something, well, doggone it, then that means that I got to do better. And so you guys keep me on point and you keep me on my toes. Now, here's what I want to start. I guess we'll just start with this. Who are we actually sending home? Are we sending home hardworking Americans?
You have a person I think.
Sir.
People who come to this country who want to
Where you from?
work hard. Is that who we sending home? Now this is somebody type Dr. Phil in the chat. Dr. Phil and Tom Homan. Who knew they even knew each other, right? So Dr. Phil and Tom Homan, the border czar, got together, and I guess Dr. Phil wanted to feel what it was like to go on a raid. You understand what I'm talking about? So let's listen to this back and
Your
forth.
name?
Seda. Seda what? You have a first and last name. Sam.
Seda Sam?
Yes.
Where you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where you born?
Thailand.
He's from Thailand.
You been deported before from the United States?
No.
Never been deported.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been in the system before.
Yeah.
Look, let me tell you something.
What do you
When I ask you something twice, that means he already knows the answer. Okay, he's just asking you twice to go ahead and get you to commit to that lie. So let's keep listening. Keep on.
been
listening.
charged with
Charles where?
before?
Look at Dr.
I'm
Phil.
not gonna say that. I'm gonna talk to my lawyer.
I want to talk to my lawyer. You ain't even talked to law enforcement. That's Dr. Phil, baby. Dr. Phil is conducting some kind of TV show out here, man. He's getting his ratings up. Keep listening.
Yeah. Are you a citizen?
My mom's a citizen.
My mama.
Your mother's a citizen,
Yes.
but you're not?
He just mom out here catching strays. Mom is out here. She about to get her doggone paperwork revoked. She out here catching strays for you, fool. Anyway, let's keep listening.
But you've never been deported before?
You Dr. Phil. You look like Dr. Phil.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, you know, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children.
Look at that. Look, let me tell you something. Them rules, them dudes overseas, they don't have rules. You understand what I mean? Anything they can get hold of is available, apparently. So, I'm just saying, they got all kind of fetishes and whatnot going on. And they just let them walk up through here from the southern border. So let's keep listening.
He's walking the streets of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents.
Chicago.
This is what we're dealing with. Yeah. You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Ooh-wee.
Not really?
Not, sir. Either you are
And never
or you
been
aren't,
deported?
sir.
Nope.
Huh.
You just
Let's take him in and process and lock him up.
Got it, sir.
Lock him up. Somebody type lock him up in the chat room. Lock him up. That's what Tom. So these are the type of people that we are sending home. These are not just regular folk who are here to work. You forfeited that right. You see what I mean? When you decided that you wanted to be out, firstly, you didn't come the right way. Secondly, y'all here committing heinous crimes. Now here's another one right here. And this fella apparently just was just released. Let me see if I can pull this thing up, man. I'm doggone it. There was another one here. Let me see here, family. Let me try to pull this up real quick. I had it ready and available. You understand me? It was ready and available. And now it is there we go. Let me see if I can get this in here for you. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this one in here.
Do you mind telling me your name?
Let me see. I'm gonna make it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this up real quick so you all can see it. Boom, bada. Okay. Yeah, I'm having some difficulty sharing the screen for whatever reason. That didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna get it tightened up. Y'all hang in there for a minute. Uncle D is trying to figure out this old technology. I'll get it in a minute. But anyway, bottom line is there was another video of a guy who apparently he thought it was he had just been released from prison. Okay, just released from just released from prison. Had done 6 years because he had been caught drinking and driving. Well, not caught drinking and driving, but he ended up unaliving a young lady, a young lady who is no longer here because this person who is an immigrant thought he was sober enough to drive home. And in his drunken stupor, he unalived this young lady while driving. And so because of that, as soon as he was released, they They picked him up. They came, they picked him up, and they got him up out of here, you know? And so a lot of folks are questioning our tactics that are what Tom Holman and the Trump administration are doing as far as ICE. But if these are the type of people that we're getting off the streets, I don't see a problem with it. Okay. And I think most Americans agree with that. We don't have a problem with getting these people out of here. Let me see if I can pull it up. There it is. That should pull it up right there. Here we go.
Do you mind telling me your name?
Now, this fella's from India, fresh out. Y'all hit the #1 button if you can hear me.
Where are you from? India. Wanna say
India.
anything?
Well, I'm not sure really what's going on, but I deserve a fair chance.
You deserve a fair chance. You don't think you
Deserve a
had
fair
one?
chance, like I'm married here, so
I mean, people always think, well, I have a child here, I'm married here. That doesn't save you. You out here committing crimes, sir. You out here committing. What if I came to your little country and went out there and start committing crimes? So I start cow tipping. Somebody taught you can't go to India and start cow tipping. What if I do that? Huh? Would you allow me to come back to your country if I came and start tipping over your sacred animals, start cow tipping? That's something that country folk do. Or at least we tell city folk that we do that. So yeah, you had your chance. Understand? You should know the law. I mean, drinking and driving is something that everybody should know not to do. Let's get the #1, but hit the #1 button.
if you guys give me a chance.
How
Give
long
me
have
a
you been
chance.
here?
You had a chance.
I've been here. I came in 16, in 18. I'm on a F1 visa. So in around 18, I had a fatal DUI crash. And it ended
DUI
up
crash.
being in prison. And literally 10 days I got out.
Been out 10 days.
10 days ago you got out. How long
Yeah.
were you in prison for?
6 years, 9 months.
6
I
years.
paid my time, like, I don't know, like, I did something wrong. I'm sorry about what I did. I'm not like
Do you know the victim's name? What's their name?
Mariah.
Mariah. Were you here in Chicago when that happened? How old was she?
She was 19.
19.
Mhm.
But you were here on a visa at that point. You said an F1
Student.
student. So your visa's obviously.
So
lapsed.
we gave you the opportunity to come to the United States and study and learn. And instead of focusing on the studying, you decided you want to get on out there and drink and drive behind the wheel. Okay. And then you unalive someone, a young girl whose life would still be here, but for you who shouldn't really be here. Okay. We got enough drunks on the road that are native. We don't need to import any drinking and driving, drunk driving folks. So yeah, we want all of these people gone. I think collectively speaking, those of you who are indifferent, and then there are also those of you all who are silently in acceptance of what you see. If you are the people who some of y'all probably voted for Kamala Harris, but now that you see this happening, okay, I know you don't want to tell anybody. I know you want to keep it a secret. Okay, but I don't see any of you all running out there in front of these ICE raids. I don't see any of y'all out there with your little protective shields protecting these immigrants. So I'm going to hedge my bets that most of you all are silently accepting this. Let's take a poll. All right. Those of you who are in here, even if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, I want you to type SA in the chat room for silent acceptance. All right. I know SA means something else, but this particular conversation, type SA if you silently accept what's going on. And we're going to change it up a little bit because some of you all are silently applauding. So if you silently accept or you are silently applauding these raids, go ahead and type SA in the chat room. Go ahead. I see them. And if you really are enthusiastic about this, just type the whole word out. Silent approval. Shout out to my man Red Sigma for being the first person to contribute to the super chat. Thank you for the super. Silent acceptance. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. Keep listening.
When I catch the case, yes.
Yeah.
You caught a case. You
Anything
caught a case that you deserve, sir.
Yeah, and that's just one case. So that guy is
Loud of
one
proof.
case
Loud of
of
proof.
millions across
Yeah.
America right now. And
That's what's going on. Fair use. So what I'm saying is I have yet to meet any Americans that truly are against this. Now, I've heard them voice opinions about it, and it's interesting. And we're going to kind of dig into the opinions that I've heard because I find them to be intriguing, to say the least. Nevertheless, but before we get to that, of course, you do have people who are protesting. This is in Dallas sometime earlier. You got folks that I don't think this is a good idea. I'm just going to point it out to you. Concentrate yourself in this one place. I don't think this is a good idea, okay? Because ICE trucks roll up. They send F Donald Trump. I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't think so, in my opinion. Shout out to my man Lance Jackson. Thank you so much. You just basically adding fuel to the fire. All right, this is not helping your cause. You see what I mean? When Americans see that, they like, oh, you don't even have standing to protest. And here you are basically saying F the president that the majority of Americans voted for. And so that goes a long way to enraging people. I'm just keeping them 100 with you. Now, I want to share something else because along with these immigration raids, there are a lot of other things that are going on. One thing I noticed, and I saw this,
wants to stop or prevent undocumented immigrants from sending money back home.
He said Donald Trump wants to stop undocumented immigrants from sending money home. Now I want you to notice home is where they plan. Home is where the heart is, right? So you're obviously just in this country to make money. You see this as a business opportunity, and at the end of the day, this is not your home. So how can we expect you to take care of this home, defend this home like we would? You see, because your family is somewhere else. So just listen to the language being used. I'm just pointing it out. Listen to this young lady and what she's saying is going to mind you. She has a Jamaican accent. So home is Jamaica for her. Keep listening.
He's putting into place policies that if you can't show where the money is lawfully coming from and that you have lawful status within the US, you won't be able to send remittances, or they will allow you to send it, ask for proof, and if you can't send it, they'll just take it.
So here's my thing. A lot of immigrants come to the country, and a lot of these countries want immigrants to come to the United States because what the immigrants will do is they have families back in their home countries. They'll take the money they earn here and send a good substantial portion of that money back to their home state, Western Union, I don't know, Cash App, I don't know, whatever it is they have. And so the bottom line is they help bolster those economies. So these nation states, these nations are actually promoting illegal immigration. Down in Mexico, they will actually give you instructions how to get on social, how to get on welfare, how to get food stamps, how to game the system. They literally give it's common knowledge of how to do this. So these people are not coming up here just because they want to work. They're coming up here so they can extract resources from our country, our social security, our welfare system. And that's why these things are beginning to break down. Not all of them are coming up here just to work. Hey, it's great that you do these menial jobs, but you have other members of the family who are on welfare, other members of the family who are social security, and you're extracting more, especially when it comes to educating your children. And then you're not paying taxes. You're not paying federal taxes because you don't have a social security number. So we educate your children. And that's a big deficit. We have to pay health care and all these other things. And so the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So let's keep listening. But this young lady is saying it's just difficult to even send money. Keep listening.
I have a video reposted. He did a whole speech and said that he hopes that this is something that will go nationwide and not just restricted to Florida. What this pretty much means in layman terms, if you don't have papers, you can't send money, go give your family member.
Let me correct myself. So Ron DeSantis put this in place down in Florida. I would love to see him and JD Vance in 4 years going at it. And I would love to see Ron DeSantis become our vice president and then JD Van or vice versa. I think either one of those fellas would do a great job. Let's keep listening.
You have to find somebody that has paper. This is a huge inconvenience because as an undocumented person for over 4 years, I sent money back home religiously.
We know you sent money home religiously. That's the whole point. You taking money from the United States and sending it home. We know that. And so they can spend it in their economies as opposed to you spending it in this economy. And at least we get the taxes and we get to recycle those dollars. Keep listening.
Every week religiously, I was sending money back home that I worked for.
Yes.
And every time you send money, you want family member in your business. And at some point, people I get tired of you because when you grants from sending
she was speaking fast.
green card holder or as a US citizen constantly have to be sending money for somebody, for people to ask where you getting money, this, that, like.
Now she don't like the fact, what she's saying is she doesn't like the fact that people are asking you. She's have to get other people to send the money, which is fraud. I mean, it sounds like it. I don't know. You could do it. If you're doing something you shouldn't do, you shouldn't do it. Sounds bad. I'm not sure. It just don't sound good to me. Okay. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't sound good to me. If you're getting other people to do something you're not supposed to do, basically, that's not good. Anyway.
It can become a lot. When I tell you, I have no words. I have no words. Me don't know if to say I don't have a solution. I'm just letting you guys know what I saw. And it's very heartbreaking. I'm going to post another video after this to show you guys alternatives.
We are not supposed to make it easy for folks to game the system. That is what our governmental officials are for. We are not going to make it easy. So it's getting difficult all around. Here's another one that I found very interesting. And this has to do, I think this young lady is an attorney. I don't know if she is.
ICE detained.
But listen to what she's saying. And all my foundational Black Americans, all of my indigenous Black Americans, all of my ethnic Black Americans who are from the United States, I want you to listen to her wording very carefully. I want you to listen to it. And some of you all will be happy that we began to delineate our particular ethnicity from a lot of the foreign people who come to this country and claim to be Black American. And when in reality, they're Caribbean, they are of African descent. It's important that we begin to delineate our heritage from those so that there will be a bright line to demonstrate who. Now, I got love for everybody. I appreciate everybody. If you're a contributing citizen, no problem. I think, you deserve a fair shot. That's what America's about. But don't go infringing on our legacy. Take a listen to this terminology.
On Thursday, ICE detained American citizens, a military veteran, and one of my colleagues and her son, who is 8 years old. Now, my colleague and her son are Black American citizens. They have Jamaican ancestry.
One of my colleagues is an American citizen. They're Black American, and they have Jamaican ancestry. Let's keep listening.
They were detained for over 24 hours. That's how long it took us and lawyers to get them out.
So this young lady is an attorney.
Of ICE detainment. And the son now has extensive trauma. And they are.
The son has extensive trauma.
Black Americans. I'm not sitting this out.
Hold on a minute. Hold on.
And lawyers to get them out of ICE detainment. And the son now has extensive trauma. And they are Black Americans. I'm not sitting this out.
And they're Black Americans. Now, see, did you hear that? Somebody shout out to 414 Money. Jamaican lady has no words, but I do. Bye. Are they really Black Americans? Why? They're Jamaicans when they win the Olympics. They're Jamaicans when they get a scholarship to go to Yale or Harvard. But then when it's time to fight and you need to throw bodies out there, they all of a sudden become Black American. And so this is why it's important that we delineate. Yes, they are Black American. They are Black and they live in America. But in reality, they're Jamaican or of Jamaican descent. We are foundational Black Americans because we can trace our roots, trace our history to the slavery, institutional slavery here in the United States. Just listening to the word, it's almost as if people from overseas are trained to try to evoke Black Americans to try to draw us into this fight. Because see, at the end of the day, as I told you guys the other day, nothing really changes. When Black Americans stand down and we don't get in this fight or anybody's fight, really nothing happens. We are the moral compass of this country. We know how to get white people to move. We know how to do it. We've done it successfully. I think around the world, if you look at all the movements, the reason they follow Black Americans and our leaders is because we know how to operate and we know how to deal with it. And I tell people all the time that Black Americans and white Americans have lived alongside each other for so long that we have an understanding. And we typically know how to get them to come down off the ledge. You're going a little too far. Not saying that they don't throw temper tantrums every now and then, which is what you see. But that's why these other folk always want to get Black Americans involved in their fight, whether it's the LGBT movement, whether it's Latino rights, immigrant rights, or even foreign Blacks. I just want you to listen to that. Let's keep listening to this.
Said in another video, I'm not sitting anything.
And again, what she's saying.
Trauma. And they are Black Americans. I'm not sitting this out.
We're going to sit this out. Somebody type, sit this one out in the chat room.
Said in another video, I'm not sitting anything out because our community is going to need us.
Our community? What you mean? I've had my papers before the country was born. What are you talking about? I just sat up here today and traced my roots back to 1690. Okay? That's how far my roots go back in this country right here between Virginia, North Carolina, and Mississippi. So I'm good. I don't need to for what? If ICE stops me, I'm like, where we going? All right, cool. Where you gonna send me? I'll be back. But let's keep listening.
Americans were detained. That means they're not going after just people who are illegals, as you want to call them. They're going after whoever they can.
They're not going after Black Americans, baby girl. They are going after Black people who are in America, who are foreigners. They're not going after foundational Black Americans. We don't have anywhere to go. You understand? That's what I need you to understand. Keep listening.
And the 14th Amendment was an amendment that gave Black people birthright citizenship.
It gave former slaves who were deemed not citizens but property. Okay, it gave them citizenship because of the Dred Scott rule. Black people were deemed property and had no rights. And then slavery ended, and so what they had to do was they had to say, well, how do we categorize these people? And the 14th Amendment said, hey, if you're born in this United States, you're a citizen. That's what it said. So it gave us citizenship when we didn't have a status. It wasn't just for Black people. It wasn't you just came over here from the Canada or Zimbabwe and you just showed up. That doesn't automatically make you a citizen. That is a misinterpretation. That is a deliberate misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment juxtaposed with Dred Scott. Keep listening.
We're descendants of slaves. So if that is repealed and they go after one group, they
are not going to repeal the 14th Amendment, ma'am. You know, that takes a state ratification. They don't even have that in the country. Nobody has the will to do that. They're going to reinterpret it to say that anchor babies are not allowed anymore. Anchor babies don't have citizenship. If both of your parents are people who are foreign nationals and not here legally, you will not be born a citizen just because you were born in the United States. They're going to reinterpret the 14th Amendment based on that little clause that says that the country has jurisdiction. Anybody naturally born, and I'm paraphrasing, anybody naturally born in the United States and this country has jurisdiction. That's what that means. You cut it out.
I think they're going after next. I'm not saying anything else. Not when my community is going to need me.
No, they're not.
I'm not going to do it.
What community are you from? Well, you must be from the immigrant community. They're not coming after all this. Man, come on, man. Cut it out. Cut it out. They're trying to get you involved. We're going to sit this one out. Somebody type sit it out in the chat room. We are not coming to your rescue, okay? Now, here's another one that I thought was very interesting. Check this one out right here.
Currently working on striking an asylum agreement with the country of El Salvador to deport migrants from different countries across.
Y'all, somebody say Bukele in the chat room. Do you know El Salvador used to be one of the most dangerous countries in the world? And then they have this president, two-term president, he's in his second term, named Bukele. Okay, Bukele, he has built a prison that's the size of like 6 football fields. And they have rows and rows of beds stacked 4 levels high. Okay. And he locked anybody with a tattoo, anybody, just a butterfly, anybody with a tattoo is in there right now. And they don't get out. Okay. They in there with their boxer drawers on and the t-shirt, and they locked up. And they locked in there with their enemies, everybody getting along. They get like 45 minutes of exercise right outside the little cell. Okay. Nobody wants to go to El Salvador. I want you to understand that. Look it up. Look up Bukele. Somebody, Bukele. Bukele. Bukele, you don't want no parts of El Salvador right now. Can you imagine? I want y'all to hear what this man just said. Donald Trump is working out a deal where he can send people who don't belong in El Salvador to El Salvador. You know what's going to happen when they get off that airplane? That military plane is going to take them. I'm from Venezuela. You should have stayed in Venezuela. Now, listen to what this cat is saying.
The Trump administration is currently working on striking an asylum agreement with the country of El Salvador to deport migrants from different countries across Latin America to the small country in Central America. This would be a so-called safe third country asylum agreement that would empower U.S. immigration officials, Margaret, to deport non-Salvadorian migrants to El Salvador with instructions to seek asylum there and not in the U.S. Importantly, I am told that one plan under consideration it would allow the U.S. to deport Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang members to El Salvador and have that country house them or detain them.
Y'all better leave. All you Venezuelans, somebody type Bukele. Look, shout out to my man B. Tisdale. So I want you to picture this. Picture this, right? You're a Venezuelan migrant. You in Tren de Aragua or whatever. And Trump makes an announcement, anybody we catch who is from Venezuela, we're not sending you back to Venezuela for you to walk back up here. Oh, no. We're going to export you to Mr. Bukele, to President Bukele. We're going to send you down, straight down to El Salvador. You're never going to touch down. You're never going to, they're going to leave. They got to go. You got like, nah, this ain't worth it. We're going to walk. We out of here. Because it's too much risk. Going to El Salvador is you're not gonna get a nice cushy American jail. They basically are gonna send all these hardened criminals to El Salvador. And I mean, hell, I would put El Salvador on favored nation status. Y'all got all of me. We're gonna let y'all do everything you want. Just keep our criminals locked up. Can you imagine that? Damn. Yeah, they're going to roll up out here. Nobody wants to go to El Salvador.
And that would obviously be a significant development and breakthrough potentially for the administration because, as you know, Venezuela right now currently does not accept the U.S. deportations. And so the administration...
That's all right. You ain't got to accept it. We got somewhere else for them to go. We're going to send you to Venezuela. We're going to see El Salvador.
The administration is moving aggressively and quickly to really oversee a sweeping crackdown on immigration. We have seen the president invoke sweeping constitutional powers to essentially shut down the asylum system at the border. And he is also enlisting the vast resources of the military to really enhance immigration enforcement, not only deploying more troops, but using military planes to deport migrants. And yes, there have been so far 1,500 troops deployed to the border, but one internal Customs and Border Protection memo.
This is Bukele's work right here. This is El Salvadorian prison. This is what you get in El Salvador. You see that? Don't nobody want to go to El Salvador. Look at that. That's where. Oh, you gonna stay? Oh, you gonna stay up here? Okay, we got you. This is where you're going. Then you're gonna go down here. So look at that. Look at my boy with the little grimace on his face. Yeah, he was all big and bad. Look how they got him lined up, man. This is how they rolling in El Salvador, man. My boy, look at that. Oh God, look at these. Look at these. They just rounded them up. Tattoo on your face. You're going to jail. For how long? Forever. Look at that. Forever. And some of these dudes were American born, not American, but they lived in LA. They were part of MS-13. They were part of 18th Street and all that stuff. They got shipped back to El Salvador. And as soon as they touched down, lock them down. Touchdown, lock them down. That's what's going on. So nobody wants to go to nobody wants to go to El Salvador. And so Trump is slicker than pig snot. Look at these prisons. Look at that. They got them and they never leave. That's the cold part about it. They never let them leave. So let me tell you something. If nothing else is a deterrent, this is a deterrent. You are a Venezuelan gang member. If you better leave now. Because if we catch you, you're gonna be on the next military flight straight down to El Salvador. No. I live in Venezuela. No, you're gonna live in El Salvador now, sir. This is your new home right here. You're gonna stay right here. You wanted to come up here and take over our little apartments and whatnot in Denver. We got somewhere for you. Keep listening. Look at this. Here's another one.
Careful what's on your phone when you're coming into the airport.
Yeah, this is what I want you to understand something. This is full court pressure. Now they sweating immigrants when they come in the airport. You understand? You know how when you walking in the airport and whatnot, you coming back from overseas and whatnot. Listen to the questions that you're being asked right now. Look at all
You have to be really careful what's on your phone when you're coming into the airport. And let me tell you why. People getting stopped at the airport and having their phone taken from them. And having immigration look through their phone and start questioning why they're doing certain things on their phone.
Listen to this. They got it all figured out. Listen.
Are they looking at certain TikToks? Why are they texting somebody about getting married? Why are they inquiring about legal services? In one particular case, why you only have a hotel room for 2 days?
Because you plan on staying for past your visa. And we need to know that now. Remember, when you go through airports and security, you don't really have any rights like that. They can search your property. They can search everything without a warrant or anything like that. Look, and for you brothers who going overseas, y'all better delete them goddamn pictures off your goddamn phone. Excuse my language, potty mouth Uncle D. You better delete those pictures. That fine woman with the booty up and everything. Better cut it out. Because they can search your phone. It's going down these days. Keep listening.
In another case, I see you have appointments for hair braiding in your calendar on your phone. Are you working here? It's really interesting that the government is taking people's phones at the airport and using it against them.
The government is doing everything that the government wants to do. Okay, we are living in Trump era 2.0. So that's another thing you got. So it's getting real. You understand what I'm talking about? I want you guys to understand where we at. Now this young lady tells a story about what happened to her when this is what happened to her when she got booted out of the country.
Belongings and
what happens to your stuff? All these people, okay? All these people who are getting put out the country, kids gone, husband, everybody's gone. So they got empty houses, empty apartments, TVs, cars just in the driveway. What happens to their stuff? If the whole family is gone, what happens to your stuff? Keep listening. And here's the thing. If you have other family members who don't have their papers, they can't come across the border and bring it to you. Keep listening.
In the U.S. after deportation. This is a great question that somebody asked.
Let me read.
What happens to all of your belongings and assets in the U.S. after deportation? This is a great question that somebody asked in one of my recent videos. I'm going to tell you what happened to all of my things that I had in the U.S. prior to my deportation. I had spent 24 years living in the U.S. So when you're living in a country for 24 years, your entire life is there. You have financial.
Now, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to just speak on behalf of all the brothers out here. We always disappointed to see a thick Latina get sent home, but we shout out to all the thick Latinas. We sorry to see you go. Okay, we wish you got your papers. You should have talked to us sooner. Okay, let me get up close because look, all the thick Latinas. Look, it's a brother out there. You gotta, just we hate to see you leave like that. All right, we don't want to see you go. We sad to see you go. Thick Latinas, come on. That maybe we could get Donald Trump to sign off on an executive order or something and pardon you from being, sent home. Okay. Hate to see you go, but you got to follow the rules. Okay. We don't want to be unfair, but we like thick Latina. I'm just saying, somebody type thick Latina in the chat room. We hate to see you go. All right. Just talk to us a little bit. If you're here, call, send me an email. I got some brothers out here I can hook you up with. You know, Kevin Samuels is gone. He used to have this group called The Mix. Okay. All right. I'm gonna call it The Tricks. I'm gonna have a Facebook page. We're gonna call it The Tricks. All right. And I'm gonna try to hook you thick Latinas up with some brothers out here, and you know, y'all, and we try to help you get your papers. Okay. So just maybe we can get that formed up. I'll form a committee. Okay. Me and the fellas will form a committee and try to get another Facebook group together, and we'll call it The Tricks, and see if we can hook some of these thick Latinas up. It's a waste. We don't need to lose that. Shout out to all the thick Latinas out there who are getting sent home. We with you. Okay. We gonna remember you. All right. Talk to us.
Assets, vehicles, homes, real estate. What happens to all those things? You lose most of it.
Oh.
I lost my vehicle. I lost a lot of my home belongings. The only thing that I was able to bring across the border that my sister flew out to me, and she brought like 6 maletas with her, was my clothes. Everything else, my mementos, my photo album, everything else was left behind in Utah. My vehicle stayed behind. I still have.
What you doing in Utah? They caught you in Utah. Ooh, you should have been in Miami or somewhere, San Diego. You in Utah?
Payments on it, so it was just eventually repossessed by the bank. Obviously, I couldn't afford my monthly payments, and I didn't know how to bring it over. Although I do.
Man, if I had a pawn shop right now, I'm like, look, I'll put a sign up. Bring all your stuff here before you leave town. I'll give you best price. I'm just saying, keep listening.
Know that there's ways to import your vehicle, but I don't know the process when there's still a lien and a lender that's hanging on to it. Luckily, I didn't own any real estate. I was living with my.
Another thing, there's going to be a lot of people that's not paying their property taxes because they're gone and they're never coming back. So you guys who are into the real estate business right there, it's going to be a lot of tax seizures out there. It's going to be a lot of tax seizures. Failed pay $1,200. You didn't pay your tax. A lot of vehicles being repossessed because people. Hey, look, I'm just saying. Okay. One man's loss is another man's gain. If you know that your neighbors got sent home, back to Somalia, and they got that nice, Ford Taurus sitting in the yard right there, and you need that. There are ways in which you can get a clean title on that. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm just saying, I'm here to help. Okay. I'm here to help y'all. We can't have these cars just out in the street like that. You Americans need to help out. Okay. So just think about it. A lot of property, a lot of cars, a lot of clothes, a lot of things like that. What's going to happen? It's unfortunate, but they didn't play the game by the rules. You know what I mean? They rolled the dice and they crapped out. So let's keep listening.
Mom at the time, I did still have access to my bank account thanks to online banking, and I was able to wire money to myself down here. But everything else, you just kind of lose. And depending on the circumstances of a lot of these people that are being deported, whether they'll have family that can bring it down, most people have undocumented family members that won't be able to cross the bridge or cross the.
Ain't nobody coming down there to bring you them old trinkets and baubles to get arrested by ICE. Ain't nobody coming nowhere near the border. What's wrong with you, Gap? You can't take it. It ain't gonna make it. Here we go. Let's keep listening. They don't want to risk the chance.
Border to bring them down their thing. So a lot of people will lose the majority of their belongings.
Yeah, they will. So there's a lot of real lessons in this, man. We empathize with people, but this is the game. This is how things go. And it's very unfortunate and it's very sad, and we hate to see this happening. But it is what it is. Now, here's one I found very interesting. And this is a young woman who is interviewing one of these. This guy has a milk factory. Okay. Now let's be realistic with each other. Can we be realistic? Can we have a conversation? Let's have a real life conversation. Shout out to my man Wrench Turner. My man Wrench, I just purchased a gas saver from the repo auction on Friday that belonged to a modern woman. Still had a wig and a backpack in it. Come on, man. Why y'all look? I'm trying to have a kinder, friendlier broadcast over here. Y'all still throwing shots. Anyway, let me see. Tom Homan said this the other day. Donald Trump issued an order saying the goal is to try to round up between 1,200 and 1,500 illegal immigrants every day. Okay. That's the goal. So let's go 1,500. Let's say they can get 1,500 illegal immigrants times, let's say they'll get that amount every day. We'll say multiply that times 365. That number is 547,500. Okay. So if for the rest of the year to this time next year, they were able to get 1,500 illegal immigrants, mind the goal, as stated by President Trump, is to bring 1,500 illegal immigrants and send them home. Okay, or round them up. Okay, round them up. Because remember, we talked about this yesterday. You can't possibly send that many people home on these airplanes. They walked up here about 1,000, and you got to send them home by the 800s. But bottom line is, check this out. So we have 547,500 illegal immigrants in 1 year. Let's multiply that times. Let's multiply that times 4, because that'll be 4 years. That's 2,190,000. There are 14 million illegal immigrants in this country. If they rounded up 1,500, if they rounded up 1,500 a day, that still leaves 12 million plus illegal immigrants in this country. So what does that mean? That means invariably there are going to be some here. Now, I told you all yesterday, the big plan is also not just to round them up, but to house them so that the prison industrial complex can make money. I showed you the stock market trends for those two prison industrial complex companies that have gone public, GEO and the other one, I forget the name. And so what does that mean? That means invariably we are going to still have illegal immigrants in this country. I want you to understand that. As much as Tom Homan and Donald Trump is telling y'all they're going to round up as many as they can, look, they're giving a good college go at it. They're giving it a college try, but they're not going to be able to round them up. And the truth is, family, we don't want all of the illegal immigrants to be rounded up. We don't want that, do we? Let's keep it 100. Let's be honest with ourselves. Do you all really want to go out there and pick strawberries? Huh? Do you want to really go to some of these plants and cut meat and farm chickens? And you won't want to do that. You want to stay behind your little desk and do your little remote computer work. So listen to this business owner as he speaks to this journalist, and we're going to have a real talk. And y'all make sure y'all hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Keep listening. Keelan, baby girl, Reed Pink says half of them. I don't know if it's going to be half of them. I think half of them is too much. I think about 2 million of the worst of the worst, and to scare the hell out of the rest of them, to keep them in line. And I'm going to explain why in a minute.
Workers are not U.S. born.
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
Let's listen
what
to that.
percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
How many hours does this go on?
It's 20.
Fair use. So this guy has a milk farm, okay, in the Midwest. Keep listening.
24 hours a day. You know, we could milk 8 hours.
Milking cow breast, cow milk, 24 hours a day. You hear me? We working 3 shifts. Keep listening.
Hours a day, but it wouldn't be feasible or profitable for us to produce milk.
If we couldn't do it 24 hours a day, it wouldn't be profitable. I'm going to turn my music on because I don't want to get this thing. I don't want to have that issue with the copyright. He said, if I couldn't have these cows milk 24 hours a day, this wouldn't even be profitable. You hear that? Keep listening to this gentleman. This is business, okay? And family, at the end of the day, we want to keep our business going. We want to keep our economy going.
So you need workers like this year round?
Yes, yes.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, her farm is just a few miles away. This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them. How many hours does this go on?
Okay.
It's 24 hours a day. You know, we could milk 8 hours a day, but it wouldn't be feasible or profitable for us to produce milk.
So you need workers like this year round?
Yes, yes.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, her farm is just a few miles
So it's an unspoken understanding, right? Let's keep listening.
away. This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants and ask them for their immigration status, because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers. Are you
So it's just understood. Okay, keep listening.
worried, like some of your other farmers, that if there were a mass roundup of undocumented migrants,
I want you to hear what he says. If you take all these people out of here, listen to what they say.
that you might lose workers? You may not have enough workers.
Well, the question I asked, how they going to do that? Within 2 days, we will not have food.
You hear that? If they rounded up all these illegal immigrants, within 2 days, we wouldn't have food. That's America. That would make you more upset than having illegal immigrants in this country.
There will not be food anywhere.
2 days.
Yes. That's why I predict nobody will be filling shelves, nobody will be producing food. If we once have to shut down and be gone, it's never coming back.
Does Governor Noem understand that?
I would think so.
You have a lot of faith that they're not going to do what they're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. So we have to trust in our officials that are put in place.
What percentage?
So what I'm trying to explain to you guys, and shout out to them in fair use, as I said. So look, capitalism is what it is. All right. It depends on having a population of laborers that we can get at cheap labor. That's how business works. Okay. Cheap labor. Okay. We need cheap labor. We need people who are compromised to do the work that we don't want to do for less money, so that we can keep the prices low, so we can keep our commerce driven society going. All right. There's a pyramid. You got the rich on top. You got the poor people on bottom. You got the people who can't demand a higher salary because they don't speak English. They don't have social security numbers. There is no upward mobility. They're dependent on whatever it is you give them. It is what it is. You don't have to like capitalism, but it is. If they didn't like it, they want a fair shot, then they should stay home. Stay in the countries that they came from. That's where we are. Now, here's another thing. Notice how ICE is raiding Chicago. ICE is raiding Los Angeles. ICE is raiding New York. Think about what all those states have in common. Why isn't that they haven't raided South Dakota? And I know we have some stuff going on here in some of our liberal cities, but for the most part, and shout out to my man Chief Rocky, he said, knowing how the system is, their labor will be replaced with prison. You can't put all these prisoners. If prisoners make excellent workers, then they wouldn't be in prison. You see what I mean, man? There's only so much you can do with prison because you got to have manpower to watch them. And then you got to house them and feed them and all that different stuff. All right. But what I want you guys to understand is the reason that we're targeting these blue states and these big blue states, these sanctuary cities, is because they want to target these sanctuary cities in these blue states because they don't want to target a blue state or target a sanctuary city in first of all, they won't want to target a sanctuary city or in a red state because it might piss the governor off. If the governor's red, I know they're doing some stuff in Houston, but for the most part, they're focused on New York. They're focused on Chicago and Illinois. They're focused on those places out in California. These are the places they're focused on. And they're doing that because they're trying to get the 2 million people that they're going to get out of those states, as opposed to bothering and harassing the folks in the red states where a lot of the commercial where a lot of the agricultural stuff is going on. Just think about that. So it's a grand plan to it. Look, there's no way we're going to get 14 million illegal immigrants out. Have you ever, you can't round that many people up, period. So they're going to do what they can. They're going to say, we gave it a good shot. I promise we did the best we could. At the end of the day, this is Biden's fault. We'll keep trying. All right. So that's what you have to understand. But these are the realities that we're dealing with. Okay. And so don't be disappointed. Now, here's the thing. Why is everybody so mad? Huh? Why is everybody so mad? And the other thing I want y'all to understand, and I want you to, and we're going to kind of segue into the main topic tonight. And that is, when I see a lot of Latino people complaining, right? I see a lot of them complaining. I see a lot of black people saying it's not my problem. I'm not getting involved in this. And then I hear a lot of these white liberals. Oh, what I'm going to do and this, that, and the other. And they're giving instructions on how to, not cooperate. They want all these folk out here to go out and play Karen and whatnot. But, you know, for the most part, when I really listen to what they're saying, it sounds to me like they're complaining about their servants being taken away. Just think about that. Okay? And, you know, when we dig into this uncomfortable truth, you know, I don't want to hold any punches. See, we're going to peel back the layers tonight on something that I've been noticing more and more. And it's disturbing because it echoes part of our history and it's playing out right before us. I'm talking about these white liberals. Look, I like conservatives. The reason I live in Texas is because for the most part, people are straight up. You're entitled to your closely held beliefs, okay? And let me have a very serious conversation with you all right? And I know I have folks here that might be uncomfortable with what I'm saying. But I don't want to run away from anything. I want to be very honest with you all right? And I want to talk about prejudice. I want to talk about bigotry. I want to talk about racism. And what I'm going to tell you is going to be very uncomfortable because it's going to make you have to face the truth. Human beings are entitled to their strongly held beliefs. You are not going to change someone's strongly held beliefs. You can mollify them a little bit. You can coerce them a little bit. But if a person has a strongly held belief, they believe a certain way about certain people, it is what it is. They're entitled to that. And you're not going to change that. I say give people their space. That doesn't mean we all don't bleed red blood. That doesn't mean we can't fight for the common defense. That doesn't mean we can't attend school together. Now, some people, they don't want to be around you. And this is not germane to one group or another. I know black people that don't want to be around Latino people that don't want to be around white people that don't want to be around Latino people, Indians and Asians that only want to be around Asians. It is what it is. People are entitled to their beliefs. This is a big earth, and we can share it. We can be communal or we can be apart. People are entitled to their strongly held beliefs, even if those beliefs are racist, even though those beliefs are prejudiced, even if those beliefs are bigoted. And that's just the honest to God conversation that we need to have, period. People are entitled to their beliefs. The problem is when you begin to impose your will on others because you've teamed up with some other people and want to treat them unfairly. That's when people fight back. And it's worse when you're the majority of the population and you do it. That's when it's deemed unfair. Okay? And we just have to deal with that. Racism is as much a part of the human psyche as anything else. Everybody always wants to port their side. And I'm not like these black conservative extremists who sit up here and lie to people. Say, oh, racism, they're fools and white people think you're a fool. And nor am I a liberal thinking, oh, racism is good, no good, and it doesn't exist. I'm not a damn fool. I'm just like the rest of y'all. I see with my own eyes. People are people. They are who they are. Some people you can work with, some people you can't. But I understand that, hey, people are entitled to their strongly held beliefs. Now, that being the case, when I read through some of the comments that come from these white liberals or so-called white allies, somebody type white allies in the chat room. And the reason I like conservatives, because they let you know just how damn well they feel, especially in Texas. You understand? It's the white allies, the ones that pretend to be your friend. In reality, they have the same strongly held beliefs as the so-called conservatives, right? Which is another code word for racist. You understand? That's what they like to say. But the bottom line is everybody has their strongly held beliefs. Now, here's the thing. I'm concerned. It seems that they're less concerned about the mass deportations or the harm being done to the Latinos and the other people who are here, the other minority groups. And they're more worried about how it's going to inconvenience them. Okay, their main concern is who's going to pick the fruit. You understand? Who's going to watch our kids? Who's going to mow our lawn? And these aren't concerns about people's humanity or livelihood. It's about losing access to cheap labor. Let's be honest. What they're really saying is, who's going to be our servant? Doesn't this sound familiar? It's the same rhetoric we've heard before. Way back during the Reconstruction era, after the Civil War was over, and the Southern plantation owners weren't grieving because they the moral loss of slavery. That wasn't the problem. They were grieving because of the loss of that free labor. And now here we are in 2025, and you have these same Democrats, these same white liberals crying about crops rotting in the fields and their inability to find affordable labor for their convenience. It's as if history is repeating itself just with this modern twist. I mean, listen to them. I'm gonna let y'all listen. But the Democrats, and let me be clear, this is their mindset. They don't even hide it. I've heard them say it over and over again. Who's going to pick the vegetables? Huh? That's how they see immigrants and minorities, not as people, but as a labor force. And the irony is, it's deeply offensive. The idea that Mexicans, Latinos, or anyone from another country is only good for manual labor is downright insulting. And let me tell you something. When I ran, when I ran my company, I employed Hispanics. Okay, they weren't just labor there for position; they were my friends. They were also supervisors. They were managers. They were skilled professionals. But see, this mentality reminds me of what we dealt with in the post-Civil War America. And back then, there was a theory that poor white people should step up, or the theory was that once we get rid of these black folks, these poor white folks are going to step up and take these jobs previously held by enslaved black people. And that sounds logical. Shout out to my man THPP, right? That sounds logical, right? Poor black folks are gonna step up and take care. I'm sorry, poor white folks are gonna step up and take care of this field work. But it didn't happen. Because there's a book, well, Thomas Sowell talks about this, and this is somebody I actually just discovered about 3 years ago. You guys know who Thomas Sowell is? He came up with the term black rednecks. And basically, back then, in one of his books, when he talks about that, it's called Black Rednecks and White Liberals. He basically says that back then, labor was something that black men did. Labor was something that white men didn't do labor back then. And so the idea that if we free these slaves, white men were automatically going to step up and do labor, it was just ludicrous, as Mike Tyson would say. And so what actually happened was that you had the rise of mass incarceration, which was allowed under the 13th Amendment, okay, which is the place where they allow slavery to continue under the guise of punishment for a crime. Jim Crow laws, they criminalized basically your whole black existence. It led to countless arrests for bogus charges like loitering, vagrancy, and once they were in the system, black men were leased out to wealthy landowners through what was called the convict leasing program. So let's connect the dots. Shout out to my man Johnny Harris, starts unions to exclude people. Yeah, right? So let's connect the dots again, right? The same fields where black people had been enslaved were now being worked by black convicts, okay, forced back into the labor under the so-called legal system that they had in place. It wasn't freedom. It was slavery by another name. Now, fast forward to today. This current immigration backlash, it feels eerily similar, right? Or because these ICE raids are displacing these immigrant families, and crops are now left to rot, and industries are scrambling to fill the gap. And the theory now is the same as it was back then. The poor Americans will step up and take these jobs. I ain't seen none of y'all apply to pick fruit in these strawberry fields. Okay, and we all know better. You're not going to do it. And history has taught us that when when there's a gap in the labor force, the system doesn't lift people up. It finds a way to exploit them. And here's the kicker. While they're crying about their missing labor force, they're simultaneously dismantling these affirmative action programs and anything else that might give anybody else a leg up. It's all connected. Okay, they want to control who gets the crumbs while maintaining the comfort of power. And this is a conversation we need to have. Okay, because we are talking about Reconstruction era tactics, along with the convict leasing program. And I discussed that last night. And if you haven't looked at my broadcast last night, you really need to check it out, because I talked about how the plan is to lock some of these people up and keep them locked up and use them for work, deport many. But for the most part, this is what's happening. The game hadn't changed. It's about keeping certain groups in their place while ensuring the system works for the people on top. And then you have poor whites and middle-class whites who are looking at it like, yeah, we're getting our country back. And at the end of the day, they don't really care about them either. You see, because we also have a class division. Now, I'm going to take the opportunity. I want you guys to check some of these videos out. And let me say this. I'm not the only one that noticed this. I saw this fella today, this white fella. I want you to look at this skit that he came up with. I just thought this was hilarious. Check this out.
All of them? We got to let them all go?
Listen. It says Democrats in December 1864. Keep in mind, the Democrat Party was the pro-slavery party, right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. Keep listening. Keep listening.
All of them? We got to let them all go?
Mm-hmm.
Man, who's going to pick all my cotton and who's going to pick all my food?
Right.
He's going to get all of them? He's going to round
So now we are Democrats, January 2025. Keep
them all up.
Look, man.
That's great. Who's going to wash my car, mow my yard, take care of my kids, pick all my food?
Yep.
Fucking Trumpers.
All right, man. So check this out. We'll be back.
Yeah, this is coming first. At number 10 is Washington, D.C., where there's roughly to be 50,000 illegal immigrants residing there. At number 9 is San Diego, California, where they have so many illegal aliens, they don't know what to do with them all.
Notice all of these are Democratic states with sanctuary cities, just as I pointed out. Keep listening.
At number 8 is Las Vegas, Nevada, which continues.
I know Vegas went Trump, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, they're more Democrat leaning and more blue leaning.
To get worse year after year, but within the last 2 years, it's gotten extremely worse.
Mm-hmm.
At number 7 is Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where crime is on the rise, and so are illegal aliens. At number 6 is Boston, Massachusetts, and who would have known? In the city of Boston cream pies, there were a bunch of illegal immigrants. At number 5 is Los Angeles, California, and out of all the problems that Los Angeles is having right now, 1 million illegal immigrants is just one of them. At number 4 is Miami, Florida. It ain't just Cubans that are illegals down there now. At number 3 is Denver, Colorado, where crime has definitely been on the rise, especially since the surge of Venezuelan migrants. At number 2 is New York City, New York, where they have many problems. And now, a ton of illegal immigrants is just one of many of them. At number 1 is Chicago, Illinois. And the mayor of Chicago thought he was going to get federal reimbursement from the federal government for all the migrants that he brought to this beautiful city. And now today, all you hear on the streets is La Migra, everywhere you go.
All right.
Patriots, this is Secret Service Sam. I am just here with an announcement that ICE.
And here's another thing. I see them out here being helpful. Oh my God! Now look, white people, look. Now look, you know the majority of white people voted for Trump, and now you're out here being helpful. Oh my God, they're coming for you. But you pray. Look, you voted for them, or you know somebody that did vote for them, or you're quietly and happily accepting the results. So now you're out here being helpful. It's a bit hypocritical, but let's keep listening.
Is making raids in Bakersfield right now. There are several people who are talking about this, that they are at grocery stores, they are at gas stations, and they are just, they're going through the fields. They are taking all illegal immigrants in Bakersfield right now. Several other influencers are mad that not other Latino influencers are speaking up on this. I am not Latino, but I have a lot of Latino family, so I consider myself La Raza, if you know what I'm saying. So we need to speak up on this. Obviously, this is what we kind of knew was coming with the new administration. What do my patriots think about this? My question is, if they're taking all of these farm and agricultural workers, obviously everybody is good with the criminals, but that's not where they're
Look, okay, they're taking all these agricultural workers. So how am I going to have my avocado swirl dip, okay, with crouton nuts? How's that going to happen? They're taking all the average. I'm trying to tell you, keep listening, man. Keep listening.
If you listen to Stephen Miller on the news, they're going after birthright citizenship. And my question is, how is this lowering the cost of eggs or groceries if there is no...
My eggs are going to be $10 a dozen because they're taking all my servants away. All right? This is not helpful. I know this, man. This is what our great leaders throughout history, whether we talk about Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, and all, this is what they meant when they said well-meaning white people or well-meaning liberals, right? You are just putting your foot in your mouth and you don't even realize it. Where are my servants?
People in these fields to get this produce to our grocery stores.
That's
Real
his
question,
concern. It's
are
concerning.
any Americans going to be taking, or any unemployed Americans rushing to take these field jobs? That's my biggest question.
Because I'm going to need you all to get out
what
there.
are we doing here? So if we deport all of these undocumented workers who are some of the hardest workers in our country,
they are there to do the work that we are not going to do. We can't get those black people back out there because they refuse. Okay, so who's going to take their place? All right, this is how this sounds. This is tone deaf. Keep listening.
Who help our country to thrive. And farmers, what do you say to this? I just can't imagine farmers are with this, because let's be honest, most workers are undocumented in these fields that bring the groceries to our kitchens every day. Patriots, what do you think? Secret Service Sam out. Samson for president of TikTok.
He really think he did something. He is really thinking he's an ally right now. This man right here, he really thinks he is out there being an advocate. We just gonna call him, I don't know, his name would be like Martin X or something like that. He really thinks that he really said something. You know, who's gonna pick our fruit? Who's going to put our produce on the trucks and load them up in those pallets? Who's going to do that if you get rid of all these undocumented workers? What do the farmers have to say about that? You see what I mean? He doesn't even realize it. He doesn't even realize how tone deaf he is. Let's keep listening.
Dude, Jared and I've been seeing police presence so big, and they've always been having two cars pull over. Well, guess what they've been doing? It's ICE. Pulling over all the Mexicans.
So you got the ones who are entertained, right? The one who's giving the play-by-play, the ones who complain. I mean, it's like watching Cops, you know, Immigration Edition. I mean, they don't even realize this. Let's keep listening. Let's keep on. Let me get that back up. Hold on. Bam, there we go. Y'all still with me? Make sure y'all, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the
two
like
cars
button.
pull over. Well, guess what they've been doing? It's ICE. Pulling over all the Mexicans in our town, which I didn't think they had Mexicans in this town until the girls started going to school. Well, that's what they're doing. Let me show you.
I mean, she is just excited. Okay.
They've been doing ICE raids. Y'all.
Oh my God.
Look at that. We're not. See? Can you see? So they've been checking all the Mexicans and
this is more exciting than watching a slippery pig run through a pigsty. Darn it. This is what we're doing.
Papers and stuff. Y'all, that's fucked it.
Now this one right here, she just who she is. Okay, she just who she is. Send them home. Look at that. It's that group out there who don't give a damn. They just send them home. Mind you, but she's probably a conservative. Let's keep listening.
It's funny, my boy just pulled up on me and I was telling him how my son and I's plans for the day is we're going to go ride around Southwest Detroit and Mexican Town and film the ICE agents. He said,
You
T,
hear
you know
that?
you can't fight the public.
Entertainment. Okay? Entertainment. Who's going to pick our fruit and giving a play-by-play? All right?
Police. I said, the hell I can, I'm white. I said that to say this. To all my white people, please start using your whiteness for the overall greater good of humanity. We can do that.
Ma'am. And this is the faux, I guess, vigilante. We're going to go out there. We'll show them. If you don't sit yourself down somewhere, you say, this is, what do they call this? Virtue signaling. Well, I was going to try to do, if you were going to do it, you would have done it by now. You see what I mean? So let's keep listening to this.
Years ago, my neighbors was getting messed with by the police over some BS.
Mhm.
You know what I did? I took my white ass outside and started filming it.
Yes,
And made
you-
sure they knew that my white
Yes.
ass was filming it.
Yes.
Literally said, I
I'm
hope
gonna
y'all know my
film it.
white ass.
I'm going to film it. That's going to be my way of showing them that I'm an ally. Okay? So you got different, listen, this is a variety of white allies, and this is why Black people are becoming turned off to white liberals in the Democratic Party. At least we know where we stand with your Donald Trumps and your conservatives. They say what they're going to do. They do what they say. You know where you stand. I can kind of respect that. Maybe I don't agree with every that, but I respect that people have their strongly held beliefs. This right here, you just pretending and you ain't in there. You see what I mean? Let's keep listening, but let's keep
Filming
listening.
this. They started to act a lot more decent to my neighbors. That, my friends, is using your whiteness for the overall greater good of humanity. Unfortunately, we can't rely on people to be good people. Unfortunately, we have to hold people accountable for their actions. Therefore, start getting on people's heads and letting them know you tired.
You know what you would do if ICE
She clearly has a black baby daddy. Let's keep
officers
listening.
come to your place of employment? First, if you're the employer, you say, I am the employer. You cannot go to any
Here we go. We got another one giving instructions on how to fight, right? Against, I mean, look, this is what we get.
area
Let's keep
without
going.
my permission. This is a private workplace.
Mhm.
If ICE continues to try to enter into your workplace, you say this: do you have a judicial warrant? Because if not, you are violating my rights.
Now, I do remember a lot of folks telling Black folks to stop resisting, don't resist. And this sounds a lot like resisting. Typically, when Black folks say, nah, I know my rights, they'll say, just comply with the police and you won't get hurt. I mean, I'm just saying, this is somebody type stop resisting in the chat room. Don't resist. Don't be a victim. Don't run from the police. Remember all that? We talked about that also. Let's keep listening.
Encourage your staff, if they don't have a judicial warrant, to take videos of them violating your rights. If ICE tries to ask your employees questions, they don't have to answer. They can keep quiet.
You tell them to not to cooperate with the police. I'm just saying. I'm just saying they don't tell Black folks this often. They tell us that we wouldn't be getting beat up if we just cooperated. Keep listening to what he's saying.
After ICE leaves, write down everything that happens. Your memory is short. Your employees should not panic. If they feel threatened, they can try to calmly leave without running away. And as long as nobody stops them, let them walk out the door.
You saying just walk away from the police when they're talking to you. That's what you're saying? Yeah. So, this is the advice that you got these white liberals giving. This is their help. All right. Keep listening.
If they're stopped, they have the right to remain silent as well. If they are asked to stand in a group by immigration status, they should just stand randomly. They don't have to show any identification documentation. And all they should say is, I want to speak to my lawyer.
Right. As they haul you up and send you on. Let's keep listening.
If you're cheering on these ICE raids, I hope you eat cheese doodles for the rest of your fucking life.
Cheese doodles. That was aggressive. If you're cheering on these ICE raids, I hope you eat cheese doodles for the rest of your life. Okay, I just want to translate for my Black friends who don't understand whitenese. That's powerful language. It's right up there with, is it though? It's right up there with shame on you. Okay, it's right up there with shame on you. Okay, when you hear white people say shame on, that's strong language. All right, I want you to understand that. All right. So she eat cheese doodles. It's right there. Keep
I
listening.
hope you eat cheese doodles for the rest of your fucking life. Do you not understand that California is a massive agricultural hub?
Here we go.
And that we have
My servants are leaving.
many fantastic immigrants keeping our state alive, keeping us.
Name one of their names. Name their names. Since you know so many fantastic immigrants that are keeping our state afloat. Name their names. Name them. Let's hear.
Fed. The fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Our fruit won't get picked. And now you're going to eat cheese.
They
doodles.
will then do high profile blue state, blue city. I'm looking at you, Boston, raids in what used to be called sensitive spaces. They're after Wu. And if she is not ready, I mean, they are after the state. They are after Healy because they don't lose any.
Giving advice. Listen.
They're not losing any votes because no one really votes for them here.
Nope.
So the sensitive locations were traditionally schools, hospitals, and places of worship, that they would not go in for immigration raids. They are going to waive that. And Boston schools, Boston churches, Boston, and I keep saying this, Boston is like absolutely perfect because it's a blue city in a blue state. Right. Yeah. So they don't want a blue city in a red state because they don't want the red governor to get upset.
She said actually on our show, and I think on Channel 5 on that Sunday morning program, that they were not going to comply with this stuff.
I don't know what that means. I mean, that's nice talk by the mayor who, like, I don't know. Does that mean that you're deploying Boston police to protect parents? Because you're not authorized.
In other words, there's nothing you can do about it, but we're going to go ahead and give you a play-by-play and some theoretic stuff that you can do. I mean, this is not helpful. You see what I mean? Keep in mind that most white people voted for Donald Trump, and they're giving this advice, but you got to understand that that's the backdrop. And many of them are concerned about the utility that immigrants provide, illegal immigrants, mind you, provide to this country by doing cheap labor that most Americans would not otherwise do. Keep that in mind. It's the number one button.
It's that kind of talk that drives me nuts because, I mean, you know, I'm supportive of her position, but what does that tactically mean? You are going to have parents who are undocumented picking up their kids who may be undocumented and will be immigration enforcement actions outside of schools. Okay, what are you going to do?
Everywhere.
The ICE raids, yeah, they're making people money. Meet GEO.
Here we go. This lady is coming up with the same thing that I understand.
A private prison company and ICE's top contractor. Since Trump took office, GEO Group's stock price has more than doubled. On a call, GEO's executive chairman said that this is an unprecedented opportunity. Deportation, an unprecedented opportunity. Last year, ICE granted GEO Group $747 million.
You know what she's doing is telling everybody how you can get paid off of this. So you got the people who are giving instructions. You got the people who are talking about how they're going to intercede and pull their cameras out. And now you got the ones who are talking about. So, you know, I just want you to understand there's not a lot that is this really compassion from your white Democratic allies, folks? I just want you to understand that I don't really see it. I see what's in it for us. Look at the loss that we're going to have to deal with because our servants are leaving. Keep listening.
In contracts. Trump's mass deportation plan could boost that number by over 400 million. GEO Group specifically builds and runs detention centers and creates surveillance technology to monitor immigrants. But the scheme gets even more horrifying. GEO Group pledged $1 million to Trump's 2024 campaign. Pam Bondi, Trump's nominee for Attorney General, used to lobby for GEO Group. Clearly, the Trump team is ramping up ICE raids in part as a thank you gift to their good friends at GEO. Furthermore, GEO Group is staffed by former high-ranking ICE officials. Most recently, Daniel Bible moved from ICE to GEO. Last February, he was pressing President Biden to spend more money on ICE detention beds and surveillance technology, a move that directly financially benefited GEO Group. Now, he is an executive VP at GEO Group. So ICE officials are recommending the government give millions to a company and then turning around and working for that company, profiting off of their previous professional recommendations. It's basically a money laundering scheme, but one that tears families apart in the most traumatizing ways possible. And it's all being done to increase shareholder value. Evil.
Yep. So, you know, it's no secret. At least she's
20
telling.
years, Raul Rodriguez worked as a border protection agent.
Now this is,
ICE.
I find this ironic. This cat right here, he was a boy. This guy is telling the story about a border agent who spent his whole career sending illegal immigrants home, and come to find out, and I'm gonna let this guy tell it.
Deporting over his career over 1,000 people until one day he went to sponsor his brother who lives and is born in Mexico. And so he turned over his birth certificate to the immigration department to sponsor him. And lo and behold,
He said he's talking about, when he said he's talking about the agent, the former agent who sent thousands of people home. He turned over his birth certificate. He gave his birth certificate to try to sponsor his brother who's from Mexico. And this is what happened.
he finds out that he himself is an illegal immigrant. His parents had forged the birth certificate. Apparently, it's very common, and they never told him. So he loses his job and is now.
Did you hear what this cat said? He said it is very common for these parents to forge their children's birth certificates. So a lot of these illegal immigrants, I mean, we see these children crying and how they're being sent home and all these sort of things. But man, your parents brought you here illegally. They didn't even tell you that you were illegal, and they went so far as to forge a government doctrine. How do we feel sorry for this situation? How do we as Americans, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, if you're crying and you're upset, you need to look at your parents. It's not our fault, okay? We have to follow the rules. You get a traffic ticket, you might have to pay $200 or $300, depending on how fast you were driving and in what zone you were. We have to pay the rules, and if you don't pay it, they can haul you off to jail for a warrant. Traffic tickets, you get a boot on your car. We have to follow the rules too, no matter how much we don't like them. All right, and so why should other people be able to come to our country and not have to abide by the rules that we have to abide by as American citizens? You got to play by the rules. I mean, we've learned that because we know what happens to people who don't. But keep listening to this story, because the big picture is, you know, they say do unto others as you want them to do unto you. He thought the former immigration agent thought they were going to cut him a break because he had spent years sending people home. No, let's
in the process of being deported himself. What's even crazier is this guy spent 4 years in the U.S. Navy. Nobody ever caught this before. The parents apparently forged the birth certificates so their kids can attend U.S. schools. I mean, the parents never told him. That's what's crazy. And if he had never gone to sponsor his brother, he may have never found out. The Border Protection Agency is not checking to make sure someone's birth certificate is real. I guess a lot of times they're just checking socials. You know, if you have a birth certificate, you can get a social.
You see what I'm saying? So
if you are undocumented or
a lot of people think, a lot of Latinos think they're currying favor with the Democratic. This ain't the hook. Ain't nobody gonna hook you up, man. You're not gonna get hooked up. You still gonna go home. All right, let's keep listening to this lady.
you're a lawful permanent resident and you are in court charged with a crime, you could get picked up by ICE now. Yes, I'm reading from an internal memo. I'm Gloria Cardenas, an immigration attorney. Here are the 5 categories of people that ICE can pick up at a courthouse. Individuals that have been ordered removed but have not left. Individuals that have been removed from the United States that have re-entered the United States without inspection. Gang members, specific aliens with criminal convictions. In other words, that's very broad and we don't know what it is until they start implementing this policy. People that pose a national security risk, people that are a public safety threat. Now, that.
All right, so I don't know this lawyer and I don't practice immigration law, but I am familiar with the fact that they just enacted something called the Laken-Riley law. Have you guys heard of that? Laken-Riley. She was a young girl, young lady. And on February 22nd, almost a year ago, she was a nursing student in a university, at University of Georgia. Okay. And she was jogging on the campus of UGA, and she was unalived by a Venezuelan migrant who was here illegally, a 26-year-old man named Jose Antonio Abera. And so, you know, you guys remember that, you know, and people are pissed off and they're still mad about it. And as a response, they've enacted something called the Laken-Riley Act. And what this does, and I'm gonna just summarize it for you. Basically, it says that even if you're arrested, okay, because that guy Jose Ibarra, he had been arrested for burglary and let go, and he wasn't charged anything. So now they changed the law so that even if you get arrested for something like a minor charge, they have a right to send you home. So just keep that in mind. So we are not playing, along with not being able to send money home, checking your phone in TSA, sweating you on around the community, hemming you up, even if you look like you're an immigrant, it's going down. Okay, it's going all the way down. Keep listening.
Last category is also very broad, and we're going to have to see how this plays out. This is targeting a lot of the sanctuary cities, and here is why. When somebody is arrested in the United States, ICE will, if they're undocumented or they're a lawful permanent resident and they have a serious criminal charge, ICE will put a detainer on the file. In other words, once the person posts bail or once a person finishes their sentence, ICE has 48 hours to go get the individual. In a lot of sanctuary cities, they were just releasing the individual.
You got somebody who has a sanction. You got somebody who says, hey, Lauren, hey, keep this guy. We'll come pick him up. You just let him go. This is what, I mean, these people are literally letting illegal immigrants who committed a crime. It's already bad enough that you committed a crime when you came in. Now you committed a crime when you came in the country and you committed some more crimes. Like, they need to go home. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's just too much. These people are out of control when it comes to that. I want to be able to walk down the street and be safe, you know, and not and know that you don't have these people who are in the country who are just here to take advantage. Like I said, they don't even see this as their home country. So why should they take care of it? Like, I mean, they treating it like a hotel, and we have to live here. Keep that in mind. Whatever your position on immigration is, just keep that in mind.
Individuals, and not allowing for that 48 hours for ICE to have the option to go pick up the person and take them into custody. Now, ICE officers can go into courthouses and actually apprehend, detain, and arrest individuals. There
was a time when the judges wouldn't let you come in the courtroom and do it. They wanted you to handle it outside because they didn't want to just, but now they can handle you in court. We'll take them from here. We got it. That's what they're doing now.
To be working and getting advisals from the Office of Principal Legal Advisory. That's a fancy name for the prosecutors that work for the Department of Homeland Security. So they're going to be working with them to figure out who they can go and get at the courthouse. Now, they're supposed to do this quietly. They're not supposed to go into family court or small claims court unless the ICE officer gets approval from the field office director, otherwise known as FOD, or the special agent in charge, otherwise known as SAC. What I predict is that those people that are arrested with things like a DUI might be apprehended by immigration at the courthouse. We will see. I think that people that are charged with a crime that have been ordered removed and re-entered, I think they're going to be picked up too. I also think that people that have an order of removal that are arrested could also be picked up by ICE at the courthouse. This is something very disturbing. It says here, other aliens encountered during a civil immigration enforcement action in or near a courthouse, such as family members or friends accompanying the target alien to court appearances or serving as a witness in a proceeding, may be subject to civil immigration enforcement action.
Let me tell you what she's saying. So you trying to get your friend out of trouble and you don't have your papers, and you come down to the courthouse, you trying to get you down there testifying for your homeboy, you down there testifying for your neighbor. Neither one of y'all have papers, and you're here fraudulently. They can come get you too. They can swoop you up. You, mama, daddy, everybody's going to jail. Okay? Yeah. Look, hold my cell phone, hold my stuff. They take, who are you? Give me the cell phone and turn around and put your hands behind your back. That's what he's talking. That's what she's saying. So, you know, we have a far more aggressive immigration policy than we used to have under Joe Biden and the previous administrations. And it shows, but I want you to pay attention. Look at these this is the help that they're offering. Keep looking.
On a case-by-case basis, considering the totality of the circumstances. That is very alarming because we want people that don't have legal status to attend court hearings if they are a critical witness in an investigation. So I don't like that chilling effect.
And so, and she's saying, so if something bad happens to you and the cops trying to get you to testify as to what some gangster did to you, guess what that means? That means that if you go down there and testify about having something happen to you and you don't have your papers, they can send you and him home, or you and her home, whatever. All right, that's what they're saying. All right, keep listening.
That could have on people not coming forward to report crimes, but also not working with prosecutors to show up to court to prosecute people because they themselves are undocumented and they're concerned they're going to get removed. That is horrible. I will keep you posted. I'm Gloria Cardenas, the immigration queen.
Immigration queen. Shout out to her. Shout out to my man Cody Marshall. Thank you. Oh, we got 10 super chats. Hold on a minute. We finally got 10 super chats, man. 10 and we in. It took an hour and 30 minutes to get here. I'd like to get 20. That'll be plenty. But shout out to my man Cody Marshall for being the 10th word person to give a super chat. Big up to you. Thank you so much, brother. Y'all hit the #1 button. If you appreciate what I'm doing, if you're learning something, you find this entertaining, if I'm making you smile, giving something to do in the early evening, man, make sure you show your appreciation by contributing to the super chat. Nevertheless, let's get back to this work.
Only detaining and deporting criminals? That's not true. They're currently looking and waiting outside of schools.
That's because everybody who enters this country illegally has already broken the law. And so when you say criminal, what do you mean by that? You know, if you already broke the law, you broke the law, there's probable cause to believe you committed a crime. You're not here illegally, so you kind of already committed a crime. So it depends on your definition. Keep listening.
Stores, workplaces, even going door to door to try and find anyone who looks Latino. They ask for documentation, and if you don't have it, they take you. Most who have been detained do not have a criminal record at all. Mind you, they've even taken someone who does have papers. Even showed his ID, but they still took him. So at this point,
maybe they didn't believe him, baby girl. Maybe they thought he was lying. Okay, it happens to folk all the time, especially black folk. Keep listening.
It's not even just undocumented immigrants, but the media will only be loud about actual criminals being deported, while hiding the fact that they're also detaining anyone else they encounter who looks Latino. Even in their own words, we arrested
it's
those. It's
not just Latino. We saw earlier they gathered up a dude who was from India. I showed y'all that Haitian. Everybody knows that. I'm not going back to Haiti. Dog, you going back to Haiti. It's not just Latinos, okay? It's everybody that is here illegally, whether you're from China, whether you're from one of the Arab countries, whether you're from an African country, whether you're from Caribbean, wherever you're from, you're not supposed to be in our country illegally, okay? Now, we might not be able to get all 14 million, but we're going to start with all the criminals we can get and anybody around them. Okay, that's the rationale. You understand me? So just keep it one. Let's just have an honest conversation. All right. Now the thing is, the reason there's so many Latinos going back because Latinos comprise the largest segment or portion of people who are in this country without papers who are here illegally. That's why it seems like that. Most people are not. You don't have a vast majority of Africans here because Africa is not contiguous with the United States. So they can't just walk up here. Shout out to my man, Cody Marshall. Hey, I was born in East LA, Cheech and Chong. Keep listening.
During the course of our operation. And note that besides Bakersfield, they also said that they'll be going to Fresno and Sacramento.
Yeah, they're going everywhere. You heard the blue state. The blue state.
Listen, you know these
now listen to this one right here. I want you to look at this Karen. Somebody type
mass raids that ICE is doing right now. Do you think they're doing deportations? Oh, no. They are not doing deportations. They are doing detention centers.
Yep,
because Trump's billionaires' friends.
White people do know things. You see money. Somebody type money in the chat room. Look, money. Now just listen. Keep listening.
They own private prisons. And all the people that ICE is currently detaining will go into those private prisons. And they're not going to be deported. They're going to stay there.
Like I said, you can't deport all these people. You can't at 80. How many flights at 80 people a flight? How many different places? You don't have an endless number of military planes. So most of these folks are going to be, even of the ones they are able to round up, most of them are going to be detained. They can't be sent home. It's just feasibly, it's feasibly impossible to do. Okay, keep listening.
For years. And guess who's going to pay for that? You and me.
So and the American public will gladly pay for that because we don't want these illegal immigrants out. And you all know we'll gladly pay to keep them locked up. It's the same thing that happened in the 1990s when they began to lock up the so-called crackheads and drug dealers, and we had that mass incarceration. But see, here's the difference. Those people they were locking up in the 1980s and 1990s, well, really 1990s under the crime bill, those were American citizens. So there was actually a plight and a desire to actually get them out and reform. Do we really care if they lock up 1 million Venezuelan migrants that you never heard of, that you don't know? Who's going to say anything about it? Do y'all even care? They're not going to be sending you, they're not going to try to call you on their cell phone. You don't have to go put any money on their books. They're just going to be there working. They wanted to come up here and work. Okay, you're going to work. You're just going to work from within the penitentiary system. It's a perfect storm for the right-minded business person who doesn't really care about the ethical concerns. So keep listening.
Millions of people who were otherwise contributing to our economy, helping our workforce, are now going to sit in private prisons, and we are going to pay for that while lining the pockets of the billionaires who already own those prisons.
Yeah.
Good job, MAGA.
That is how America works, baby. That's what we do. That's what we do to
hospitals, churches, schools, and other previously designated sensitive areas.
Mm-hmm.
This video is specifically for healthcare workers who work in hospitals. This is everything that you need to know.
This lady is a nurse, and she's basically going to tell the nurses how to help resist the law enforcement. Now, again, this seems like resisting to me. Okay, I'm just saying we've been told not to resist, but this seems like a concerted effort to resist. Shout out to my man, Cody Marshall. You called this out 2 months ago. I did. And I'm just saying.
If you don't know what an ICE raid is, it is when a group of ICE agents show up at the hospital to interrogate either a patient, a staff member, or a family member of a patient. They almost never have proper documentation to do this. What is proper documentation? It is either a subpoena or a warrant or any other document that is signed by a judge, or it can be an administrative request from the Department of Homeland Security. If they say they have one, ask to see it. If they do not,
sound to me, ma'am, it sounds to me like you're not cooperating with the police and you're setting a bad example. If this is the message you're putting out there, because this is what you tell black folks, just stop resisting, you won't get beat up. Stop resisting, you won't go to jail. Stop resisting. It sounds like resisting to me. That's what it sounds like. Keep listening.
have proper documentation, or if you feel that they are disrupting the unit, you can always ask them to leave. You do not have to tell them anything, even if they have proper documentation. You do not have to.
If they have a warrant, you tell us we still don't have to cooperate. I don't know about that, man.
Tell them anything. You can plead the fifth. You can ask for a lawyer. You can also just say, I don't know. Whether it's ICE or Border Patrol or any other type of law enforcement officer, you need to be asking for proper documentation and knowing what that looks like before giving them any information, because otherwise your license is on the line. Because even a name is considered protected health information under HIPAA. And as it stands today, HIPAA is still the law of the land. With that being said, if you see coworkers who are a little too gung-ho to give ICE information, protected health information, they are violating HIPAA, and you should report them to the State Board of Nursing. I want to reiterate though, you do not have to tell them anything. You do not have to tell them anything. And if they do not have proper documentation and they push you, or if they act against you, like what happened to that nurse that got arrested in Utah, you can sue. You can sue. Yes, that nurse that got arrested for not handing over a blood sample in Utah sued for $500,000. Please keep your oath front and center as we move through these next 4 years. Things are going to get worse. And unfortunately, areas that are filled with vulnerable people, like schools and hospitals are going to be targeted by the worst kinds of human beings. Immigration status does not matter. Immigration status does not affect the health care that you provide. It does not affect how you respect their rights as human beings and as your patient in the hospital. If it does, you need to go work at a motherfucking coffee shop, babe.
Your language.
So the government breaks the law.
Watch your language. Hold on a minute.
I really don't think this is a
Potty mouth girl.
controversial thing to say.
You hear that? You watch that language. You watch that naughty language. Don't you come on this broadcast using those foul words here. Excuse you all. I apologize. She was a little upset. Becky got a little angry. Let's keep listening.
Anyone out there who's concerned about government overreach or the inability of states to have authority within their own borders should be against federal agents doing illegal actions. The reason I'm saying this is because ICE officers were spotted today going door to door in East Boston. This is from CBS News. Please remember, I'm not a reporter. I'm just a person who cares about the people in my community and life. What I'm going to read to you next comes from Christina Rex at CBS News in Boston. Quote, Governor Maura Healey emphasized that Massachusetts officials are willing and ready to help when it comes to investigating, prosecuting, and holding accountable those who commit crimes in Massachusetts.
Okay.
However, that doesn't apply to undocumented immigrants who are not accused of any crimes. The law that guides immigration enforcement in Massachusetts is a 2017 Supreme Judicial Court case called Lunn v. Commonwealth. In it, the SJC decided that Massachusetts law provides no authority for court officers to arrest and hold an individual because of a federal immigration detainer. The way this works in practice is that ICE will typically contact a local agency asking them to either arrest or hold someone in jail for extra time after a criminal case has concluded, at which point they have served their sentence. ICE is effectively asking local law enforcement to take on the role of holding someone for an unconstitutional period of time, as it was explained by immigration law expert and Yale Law School professor Diana Haynes.
All right, so, we got more folk giving advice to people. I mean, look, I have yet to hear, I feel sorry for these people. This is terrible. This is just more play-by-play. You see what I mean? I want you to, I'm talking to you about tone deaf, and I have a greater picture here, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit, but y'all hit the #1 button if you can hear. And let me know if you're bored. Let me know. We can speed this thing up, but I just wanted you to get all of this in there. I got a little bit more video, but I just find it interesting to get.
So the reason this is important is because the Trump administration has basically set up a scenario where they're accusing blue cities or blue states of blocking officers performing their legal activities. That's not the case. Massachusetts is following all the laws. And the only real issue here is that it sounds like this particular administration would rather they not follow the law. I mean, would you want to be detained for an unconstitutional amount of time? Many people have argued to me that these raids are necessary, even if they are against the law. I would say they need to be careful because there's no reason why these illegal actions couldn't be applied to them if and when the head Yahtzee decides they're in his way.
Everybody's everybody's a World War II. Everybody's a Yahtzee, as he said, and that's just not it. Most Americans voted for Trump knowing what we were going to get. We're all not bad people. We just want our country back and we want our borders enforced. Can't be mad at that. But I guess you can.
All right, white women, circle up. Listen, ladies, ICE raids are coming. All right. They've even started already in some places, and no location is off limits this time around, not even schools or churches. So you know what that means, right? That's right. It's time for us to put our very best Karen skills to good work. Now, I don't want to hear none of y'all hopping into my mentions going, Kendall-y, I don't know how to Karen. Bitch, yes, you do. Yes, you do. We all do. Let's not pretend that skill doesn't come as a part of our default package straight out of the factory, all right? So here are your marching orders. If you see an ICE official, be that at your job, at your school, at your church, anywhere in your community, if you see an immigration official, you go full DEFCON Karen immediately. I'm talking pull out all of the stops. Whatever you can do to distract that official and waste his time. I'm talking
the police.
complaints. I'm talking demands to see his superior officer. I'm talking long rambling stories about people he's never met.
Look at these white women out here telling on themselves. You just telling all your tactics. Now, how you gonna turn around and use this against us if you telling all your tactics? Now, you can't do that.
And situations that are fully unrelated, nothing is off the table. And if all of that fails, you pull out the white woman Hail Mary. That's right. I'm talking about white lady tears.
You hear that? All these years, right? All this faking, tears. I mean, she's telling on herself. You understand what I mean? And for all you white men who are listening to my broadcast, I just want you to keep in mind that for centuries and decades, white women have been lying to you about what white men have done to them and what black men have done to them and what the dog did to them and the cat did to them and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And you all have been falling for these same tears, you see? And it's not really just germane to any one group of women, but white women definitely do it best. I want you to hear it. And it's a large reason why you're having a pushback of the so-called woke culture, because at the end of the day, woke actually benefits white women the most. All right. They're the primary beneficiary of DEI. The primary beneficiary of affirmative action is white women. The primary beneficiary of all of this feminist rhetoric and laws and administrative rule changes have been white women. And you've largely displaced white men, you know, so they might lash out at people of color, but at the end of the day, it's the white woman that's doing all this stuff to them. And they've done it largely with white tears. And now the men are like, hell with them damn tears. We're taking our country back and we're going to put Becky back in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. That's what you see going on. And I tell you guys all the time, this is a fight between white men and white women largely. We are just, as the book Makes Me Want to Holler said by Nathan McCall, you should check him out. We just sitting here checking it out, doing our little thing. We're not in the driver's seat. Just keep that in mind. But anyway, let's keep going.
I don't care if you have to pull a full-blown temper tantrum in front of that immigration official. You do whatever you have to do to become a physical barrier between that immigration official and the vulnerable members of your community that he is targeting. Please, listen, we have trained for this moment.
Let me get this. You're going to step between an immigration officer and some Trinidad Aragua gangbanger. That's what you're telling me you're going to do? Sit down some damn where.
Our grandmothers trained for this moment, and their grandmothers before them. Karening is our ancestral legacy. Only this time, we have an opportunity to put the skill to work for good, to do something for our community instead of
baby girl, you're gone somewhere. Somebody get her. Somebody get her. Somebody please go get her. Somebody just talk to her for me. Just send her a text message or something. Just talk. Just calm down. Okay? Calm down. Right? You gonna be out there fighting against the immigration officers. They got the FBI involved now, ATF. Is that what you're gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Sit yourself down. All this doggone virtue. You're gonna be sitting right there on the couch with your cafe latte swirl, watching CNN and screaming at the TV, screaming at your cell phone. Just calm down. Somebody type "calm down" in the chat room.
against it. I believe in you, ladies. All right? I believe in you. You get out there and you wreck the absolute shit out of some immigration official's day. Good luck.
That's the best. So I've heard film them and yell at them.
Everything you need to know about ICE going into your public school. Can the president issue an executive order allowing ICE to detain students at public schools? Yes, but with limitations. The President of the United States can issue an executive order directing federal agencies like ICE to remove policies that designate public schools as sensitive locations. However, executive orders cannot override federal law, constitutional protections, or state and local policies. For example, federal or state law may regulate law enforcement actions in schools, but such an order could face lawsuits or public backlash and may be challenged in court as unconstitutional or improper, which is exactly what they're betting on. What about about ICE in public schools in states like Texas or cities like Houston? Are there laws prohibiting ICE from entering schools in, let's say, Houston? There are no specific laws in Texas or Houston prohibiting ICE from entering public schools to detain students and staff. Previously, ICE policies limited enforcement at schools under the sensitive locations policy. However, this policy can be rescinded by the administration, as was done on January 22nd, 2025. Local jurisdictions in other states like California and in cities like Chicago have policies that limit ICE's actions in schools.
She's giving out tips.
Texas, however, have not adopted similar protections. What if you're a principal? What's your role in these ICE interactions? Principals cannot outright refuse ICE entry if agents have a valid judicial warrant. However, they can take steps to ensure ICE follows the law. Number 1, verify their documentation. Principals can review a warrant to confirm it is signed by a federal judge or magistrate and is specific to a person or...
So if it's signed by a state court judge, or not a state, if it's signed by somebody else that says judge after, you just gonna ignore it? That's what you telling me you're gonna do? That's what you're gonna do? That's what you telling folk to do?
Action authorized on school grounds. Number 3, they can deny access without a warrant if ICE agents lack a valid judicial warrant. Principals can refuse entry. They can follow district policy. Many districts, including Houston ISD, advise staff to not assist ICE and...
You hear this? Break the law. That's basically what I hear. Break the law. Break the law. Resist. What happened to follow the instructions of the police I just want, what happened to all that?
Unless legally required to do so, and they can contact legal counsel. Principals should notify the district's legal team before allowing ICE access. If ICE agents insist on entry without proper documentation, principals should avoid confrontation but document the interaction and inform the district immediately. They can give them permission if they want to. That's a takeaway I want you to remember. What about a teacher in this interaction?
You're going to get all the teachers beat up. That's what you're going to do. Giving out this bad, that's what you're doing, okay? Now, all you black folks out there who listen, all you black teachers, don't you do it. You lose your job. You'll be the first one to go. You'll be just like you had these white teachers gassed you up to jump in front of this freight train called ICE. And you'll be just like Fonnie Willis and Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. When the poop hit the fan, the white folks will be shaking hands and smiling at each other, just like old Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and you'll be left out there to hang. Don't be stupid. Don't do this. And for some of you white folks, you see what happened to those J6 people. And most of those people were white. Jail is free, is an equal opportunity location these days. All right. There was a time when white folk could kind of get away with stuff a little bit, but these days they're putting everybody in jail. You better calm down. You better calm down. They got a penitentiary for you with a cell in it with your name. But calm down.
If ICE agents are already on campus, can teachers stop them from entering the class?
Hell no.
No, you cannot refuse entry to the classroom if ICE has a valid judicial warrant and has already had access to campus.
I mean, you got this woman basically, and this is the advice that you hear these liberals giving, because this is all questionable advice at best, and it's going to get a lot of people hurt and get a lot of people in trouble and get a lot of people you're going to help destroy people's lives. This is not something you can stop. This is not how you stop the legal process. You know, this is not how it's done. This is reckless. And for these folk to be coming out here telling, and she who you think she's talking to? You see what I mean? Basically anybody who'll listen. You're asking people to risk their lives and their livelihoods to go out there and get in the way of law enforcement doing what law enforcement is doing. Something that the American people willed. And I don't think this is a good I don't think this is good sound advice to follow. Keep listening.
You can request to see the warrants to confirm its validity, make sure it's signed by a judge specifying an individual or action. And number 2, you can direct agents without a warrant to the principal or administrator. What can ICE do or not do? ICE can, number 1, enter schools with a valid judicial warrant.
Yeah, let me go ahead and slide on past this because
Police asked him his immigration status. When he said he was undocumented, the police called ICE, who came and took him away, took him in for processing, and placed him in deportation proceedings. So there's a few things to note about this that I think can be useful for other people. The first is, if you're in this situation and there's someone in the car who is a U.S. citizen who knows how to drive, they should always be the driver, the undocumented.
You think the police care if you sitting in the passenger seat or the driver's seat, baby? They're going to get your information, okay? And if you lie to them, it's going to be worse, all right? It's nothing folk can do about it except go home or get their paperwork straight. I mean, it's too late. This is a conversation. They should have been dealing with this 20 years ago. Let's keep listening.
Should ideally not be the driver. Secondly, if the police are asking about immigration status, you should decline to answer that question and say, I'm sorry, but I respectfully don't want to answer questions about my immigration.
And we're going to put you in handcuffs and put you in the back of this truck. That's what we're going to do. You're going to end up on a flight headed towards El Salvador.
I can identify myself to you so that you can check to see if I have a warrant, but I don't want to discuss my status. If you ID yourself, you should do it with a U.S. ID if you have one. If you don't have one, sometimes you can get an ID at a library that has your photo and it can demonstrate your name and your photo.
A library card?
If
you telling these people to get library cards? Come on, man. Cut it out.
Don't have a document.
Why are you giving these folks false hope? Huh? Why are you giving these people false hope? Most of the people that would need to hear this don't even speak English anyway. They don't even know what you're saying. Ma'am, cut it out.
That just give your name, your address, and your date of birth, but don't talk about your immigration status.
Don't give your name, address. Don't say it. You're going to get people. You're going to get people paid.
Immigrants themselves right now have to know how to assert their rights in these interactions.
I'm angry. I hate that I keep getting on here because I'm angry. I'm new to the Boston area, and I just had to stop into the grocery store because I needed some hot tea because it's cold as shit out here for work today. And I've noticed since being in the Boston area that a lot of the stockers and the cashiers are Hispanic.
Yeah.
As you guys have probably heard, Boston is an area where they're doing ICE raids now.
Yeah, they are.
And I asked a white male worker where the honey was.
Oh, let's just blame the white male,
I was like,
right?
wow, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
I'm not saying that white males need any defense. I'm not saying that y'all can do well for yourself, but I notice white women oftentimes target white men when they want to pick on something. That you just, did this even really happen? I'm just saying, did you just want to get on the internet? You just wanted to get on TikTok and get a little attention? Is that what's going on, ma'am? I'm new to the area. I just moved to Boston. I'm not even from here. And I was up early in the morning and I went to drink my coffee and then I went to the store to get that. And I'm just telling you my life story. And then there was this horrible white male. Oh my God. I know he's my son, but still, he's a white male. And I just had to tell him about himself because he was so rude. And Latinos, you know, this little short brown people, they are so mannerable. They're much better than these white males. Ew. Oh, man.
And I've noticed since being in the Boston area that a lot of the stockers and the cashiers are Hispanic. As you guys have probably heard, Boston is an area where they're doing ICE raids now. And I asked a white male worker where the honey was. He said, aisle 9. I was like, wow, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I just needed to know where this was. He's like, well, nobody can be bothered to show up for work anymore. Excuse me, do you mean because people are afraid that they're going to get yanked off their job and deported? Fuck you.
The language. You better watch it. Gosh, somebody get me some Ivory soap so I can, in a clean white towel, so I can scrub her mouth out with soap. Your language. You cut it out. My goodness. Keep listening.
And you're inconvenienced because you have to do a little more work.
So she just went up there to pick on a stock boy. Whose teenage son was that? Huh? I want to hear from him. Y'all track him down. I want to get him on the show. I want to hear his side of the story because I don't believe her. Keep listening, man. This is too much. Y'all doing too much out there, Karen.
I feel so powerless, and I feel like all I can do is post, and hopefully we'll get to someone. ICE raids have started in Los Angeles.
California liberal.
Do your research about.
Notice how the California liberals and the Boston liberals, they have the same mannerisms, slightly different accent. Oh my God, let's keep listening.
I just found out about it. It was posted like an hour ago. So like, even if this gets to one person, like just watch out for yourself and your loved ones.
Said mayonnaise
there are
ready.
many websites that you can go to that have information. Yeah. Remember to look up about your rights. I know that it's like harder to find now that the fucking U.S. Constitution can't even be found.
Language.
TikTok doesn't let me change the link, which it is still a GoFundMe for a family that needs help from the fires, but I can't figure out how to add more than one link. It always is just like try again later, service issue. So but I try to repost as much as I can. But it's also like the TikTok search.
What are you talking about?
I heard that they're gonna be there for the next like 7 days. I don't know. I haven't done enough research to like know like where that came from or how accurate that is.
I can't do it no more.
I'm just trying to post about it as soon as possible, like spread the word. I don't know. I like literally don't know how to express how sorry I am for people because like even if you're not directly affected, like I can't imagine like the mental and emotional turmoil that this is having for it's just like it's so insane. And so please let me know if there is a better way.
You're not a victim
for me to be like getting the word out there again. Like I can't.
Anyway, yeah, quiet. I can't take no more of that. Look, man. Trump announced these massive deportation raids, right? And what I noticed is a lot of the responses from these. First of all, I mean, my man says it all. This guy right here. This is the first thing I know.
All of them? We gotta let them all go?
Yeah.
Man, who's gonna pick all my cotton and who's gonna pick all my food?
Yeah.
He's gonna get all of them?
Yeah.
He's gonna round them all up. That's great. Who's gonna wash my car, mow my yard, take care of my kids, pick all my food? Fucking Trumpers.
Right. So, as I said, what I found is the common link from these liberal types is not necessarily that they empathize with the folks being sent home, but they're like, hey, who's going to perform our labor? And that's why I entitled this Taking My Servants. And it is very tone deaf. And, again, these are the well-meaning liberals that our great leaders would talk about, whether we're talking about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall, Marcus Garvey. They all had something to say about these folks. Now, here's the thing. First of all, let's just say this. There's a problematic tendency to blame cities with large undocumented immigrant populations as though that's inherently tied to crime and societal decline. And this narrative is not only racist, but it dismisses the real systematic issues at play. I guess I would say it assumes that people in these cities are monolithic, and instead of recognizing that them as individual folks with lives and contributions to their communities. And this approach vilifies entire groups without even addressing the root causes of a broken immigration system, number one. Now, what I've heard, and this is the one that I find irritating, if we deport all documented workers, who will take our agricultural jobs? Who's going to, milk our cows? Who's going to get our eggs to market? Who's going to pick our fruit? And, just how does that sound to you? How does it sound to you? It sounds like they're more concerned with, who's going to do this cheap labor than anything else. You see what I mean? I want you to just think about that, man. Think about the embedded tone deaf insensitivity of that. Shout out to my man TIQS. She's mumble rapping like Offset and Quavo. Did you think about that, man? Just think about that. And as I think about it, framing immigrants solely as laborers as if their worth is tied to their economic utility. It dehumanizes them, and it reduces their humanity to their productivity. You know, that's like reducing a woman to, you know, her ability to please you in bed. It's like reducing someone to their ability to cook. You don't see them as a human. You just see them for their productivity, and ignores the fact that American policies and industries have long relied on exploiting cheap immigrant labor, and before that, slave labor. And it denied basic human rights and even pathways to citizenship on purpose. And instead of challenging why Americans avoid the jobs, this argument, what it does is perpetuate the stereotypes about lazy Americans versus hardworking immigrants. You understand what I'm saying? And the narrative also overlooks the fundamental truth that American policies and industries have long profited from the exploitation of cheap immigrant labor. That's what we do, okay? Particularly in labor, in labor-intensive jobs, especially low-skill labor-intensive jobs. We brought the Irish over here. We brought the Chinese over here. We brought Black people from Africa over here to do it. This is what we do. And so for decades, the U.S. agricultural sector has relied on immigrant workers, many of whom are undocumented, to sustain its operation. You heard what the fella said earlier. The government knows what I'm doing. It's an open secret. Type open secret in the chat room. It is an open secret, okay? And these workers, they placed in dangerous situations. They receive low wages. They're denied basic labor protections and pathways to legal citizenship on purpose, you see? Rather than acknowledge this systematic exploitation that keeps our eggs cheap, all right? Right? Their argument focused solely on the idea that Americans would somehow be incapable of doing this work. It never examines why industries have been allowed to continue relying on cheap and vulnerable labor, or why the structural changes haven't been made to address these disparities in wages and work conditions. And here's another thing. The way these people frame this into a trap of perpetuating harmful stereotypes, and particularly the idea of lazy Americans. We're hardworking people, okay? But they're saying we're lazy Americans and we refuse to do the hard work, while immigrants are portrayed as our hardworking counterpart. And the narrative, what it does in essence is it pits groups of people together against each other, immigrants versus Americans. And the truth is most immigrants, other than African Americans and Native Americans, most Americans are immigrants. Okay. Here's the thing. The way they frame it, it doesn't ask why certain jobs are seen as undesirable by many Americans, and it doesn't challenge the industries that pay low wages to make the jobs more attractive. Instead, it blames a vulnerable population, and it creates this false dichotomy where immigrants are seen only as tools of economic labor, okay? And American workers are unfairly painted as unwilling and incapable. That's the same thing Ramaswamy did, called us stupid. That's why they got rid of him. And but nevertheless, this perspective, it fails to address the broader issues within the immigration system. Rather than considering immigrants' rights to citizenship or legal protection, it treats them as disposable workers whose worth only matters when their contribution to when they're contributing to the economy. And in doing that, it misses the point that immigration reform should be about, or should at least incorporate some human dignity into it, along with the justice, not just filling jobs. And so this is what these white folks are doing when they reduce you down to just your labor, and they don't even see it. You see, in reality, the question is about whether it's not about whether immigrants are will continue to work in agriculture. It's not what it's about, or if they're who's going to do it if they get deported. It's about why the agricultural industry continues to exploit this vulnerable workforce without providing fair wages and safe conditions or pathways to citizenship. And the reason is because we want cheap eggs, man. Don't we? Huh? we want cheap milk, don't we? Tell the truth. Huh? Don't we? We don't want to pay a whole lot of money for these things, do we? Huh? So at the end of the day, we are complicit in what's going on because this is what we want. I'm not trying to pay $12 for a dozen eggs. I know you're not either. So what they're doing helps perpetuate the system, but nobody wants to speak about it in an honest way, do we? But see, now that it's become a problem, and we don't like, they just open up too many. You have Americans who are typically nationalist minded saying, no, this is too much, you see? And that's that situation. So that's that particular argument that I find quite annoying. Now, you got white people telling other white people they need to use their white privilege. I thought white privilege didn't exist. Didn't y'all just say white privilege didn't exist? I know I've watched Fox News enough, and they said there's no white privilege, right? And now you got this Karen out of here telling us that y'all need to make up y'all mind. I'm just say that right now. On behalf of all the black folks, I'm gonna need y'all to make up y'all mind and stop switching sides on us. But nevertheless, it's good that they're acknowledging that the privilege is important. But them reducing it to solidarity is performative. Okay, acts like filming ICE, it just misses the mark. It risks turning real trauma into a spectacle. What are you gonna do after you film it? Post it on TikTok? Instead of dismantling this oppressive system in place, filming ICE, it doesn't address the root causes of mass deportation. It centers white saviorism, right? You might as well have Tarzan come in and save all the dark people. It centers white female saviorism also, because of course, as I said, they want to transplant white males. That's the problem that they have. Rather than empowering those who are affected to lead their resistance themselves. So, and again, I'm glad they acknowledge that the privilege is there. Okay, but what you're doing is you're giving people something to watch for a few minutes, and then they move on from that without actually confronting the deeper issues at hand. And when white people are encouraged to use their privilege to film ICE, there's a risk that the focus shifts away from the people who are actually being targeted by ICE, the immigrants and their families and their communities. So it centers white people as the ones who are doing something. And I'm talking specifically these white women, okay? Because there was a famous comedian, I forget his name, he's from Boston, Bill Burr. He said white people somehow have stepped over the fence of oppression and put themselves in the front line. And I was like, that was Mark Twain-esque, the way in which he pitched that. And I thought that was pretty dope. But yeah, that's what they're doing. They're centering themselves. Next thing you know, you're going to have white women suing ICE for police brutality, and they might win because they, but again, it centers white women specifically as the ones who are doing something like capturing footage. But it doesn't empower the people who are directly affected by deportation policies, and it's not helping them at all, okay? Right? It puts the spotlight on white women as saviors rather than giving the power back to those who are most vulnerable in the fight. Filming ICE doesn't challenge or disrupt the root causes of mass deportation. It doesn't ask why ICE is allowed to carry out raids in the first place, why immigration system is broken, or why certain communities are targeted over others. Again, I've yet to see a Ukrainian community invaded. I've yet to see them sent home. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just saying. I know we don't like to talk about racism. It's apropos, but it's the truth, okay? So we know there's a racial element to this. You were sending home little white girls back to Ukraine, you'd have an outright. A little white girl start crying on TV. No. And so again, the focus becomes more about the act of filming itself rather than addressing the systematic issues that allow ICE to operate with so much unchecked power. Okay, and additionally, this kind of allyship it often becomes performative. It feels good for those involved because, they're doing something that looks active or helpful, right? But the work of solidarity goes much deeper than that. True allyship is not about using your privilege to look like you're doing something. It's about listening to the people who are actually impacted and learning from them and supporting them in their own leadership and activism. It's about standing alongside immigrant communities and amplifying their voices rather than positioning yourself as a person capturing their struggles for public consumption. Are you on National Geographic? Is that what we doing? It's like you going out on that. I'm going to capture. Run, little lamb, run. The lion's coming. I mean, you encouraging white people to use their privilege just to film ICE operations. It might feel like a step in the right direction, but ultimately it misses the point. We need to move beyond surface level actions and focus on real meaningful change. Look, at the end of the day, I and many Americans are happy that these folks who are here illegally, especially the ones who committed crime, are being sent home. I'm not doing it. And the only time I'm gonna get involved in stopping somebody from going home is if they come to my office and give me a retainer. And I don't even practice immigration law. So it's gonna have to be substantial for me to even want to get involved. Okay? Now you got some other people saying farmers can't support ICE raids because they rely on immigrant labor. You hear that? You heard that part? That speaks out to all the people who support immigrant labor. And this stance is full of contradictions because it overlooks how farmers, despite benefiting from undocumented labor, often lobby against immigration reform because they've historically exploited vulnerable workers while resisting accountability for the working conditions. Okay? Because they know that they need to keep their prices low so they can keep making a profit. And the other thing is talking about the immigration detention centers and how they're a money-making scheme. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. Private prisons profit from mass detention, but they wouldn't be able to profit if these people didn't come up here, would they? So what's wrong with turning lemons into lemonade? I know it's distasteful. I know we can't ignore how these systems perpetuate racial capitalism and xenophobia, but damn, if they didn't come up here, we wouldn't be able to put them in prison, would we? We wouldn't be able to detain them, huh? I mean, it's not about just about financial greed. It's about the system is designed to profit. It's designed to profit from suffering, just like hospitals, just like pain medication. And it just reinforces the deeply rooted social inequalities. Now, here's the thing. Great thing about the USA. Shout out to everybody in here, man. I love my country. I hope you do too. I hope you really, truly appreciate how valuable it is, how great of a value it is for you and your legacy to be in this country at this time. But at the end of the day, thank God we live in a country where you can overcome these social inequalities. There are pathways to success in this country, and there are other countries don't have that. It's going to be inequality everywhere. You can't escape it. You can go to the moon. It's going to be inequality. Inequality is everywhere. But here in this country, you're presented with opportunities to move up and try to mitigate some of those inequalities that you have to deal with. Now, what do you say to immigrants being detained outside of schools or courthouses? You know, targeting places like schools and courthouses. Look, we know what the purpose is. It breeds fear. It makes the immigrants distrust the system. They come here because they want a better life for their children, you see? And part of that has to do with what? Education. So if the immigrants are afraid to take their children to school because ICE can now target them at that school, they won't get that education, and that acts as an incentive for them to go home, and it disincentivizes them from bringing their children here. I just want you to think about that. They know what they're doing. I get it. And having ICE go into those, it silences the victims and the witnesses, and it makes it harder for them to engage with law enforcement or the public system. But see, the problem that I have with these liberal responses is they come across as hollow and posturing, okay, and calling for sanctuary cities without providing real protection on all levels. I'm just saying. They have not come up with any viable responses. I mean, look, we can critique the suffering, and that's valid. But nothing's going to change. It's not really just even about one party or another. It's about the overall system and how it operates. And it's been like that. But the problem I think I have, and I think the problem that many of us have with the liberal party or the liberal wing of the Democratic Party is they often express this moral superiority. It's too often white liberals, and they frame themselves as saviors without confronting their complicity in the systems of oppression. Most white people voted for Donald Trump. These same women are sitting here complaining about ICE, might have relatives in law enforcement, may have relatives in their family who voted for Donald Trump, who voted for the Republican Party, who hold conservative values. I tell y'all now, I voted for Donald Trump the last 2 elections because it is in my best interest to do so at this time in my life. And some of you did. It's not because I necessarily wanted to see immigrants go. I was going to vote for them anyway. Hell, I would have voted for Kamala Harris if she was a Republican at this point, because it's in my financial interest to do so. I want low taxes. I want safe borders. I want less government, generally speaking. And at this point, I don't want all these crazy wars going on. So I'm probably going to keep voting Republican until the Republican Party does something stupid and then forces me to go find another option. But yeah, it's the moral superiority. It's the, it's like they're always trying to win the oppression Olympics, yet they benefit from the cheap goods made possible by these same undocumented laborers that they say are being treated unfairly. The other thing is they focus more, there's an economic focus more so over the humanity. Many of the arguments, if you listen to these white liberals, man, and and I'm not knocking white liberals, I'm just saying, because it's not just white liberals, but there's so many of them, and they seem to be blind to what they're saying. I felt, let's stick a pin in this. Many of these arguments simply reduce immigrants to their economic contributions, and it ignores their inherent dignity and the rights of all human beings. These people are not just working machines. They have feelings. They don't necessarily want to be on these roofs in the middle of the day in the summer doing roofing work. They don't necessarily want to do that. They don't necessarily want to be bent over all day picking fruit and doing that labor. They're doing it because they need the money. They're doing it because they want a better future for their children. So let's not disregard their humanity and pretend to ourselves they like doing it. Okay? And they're only good for you because of what? Economic benefit. Now, again, all this performative allyship, filming ICE, or using your whiteness for good. What's the good again? To keep your servants here, right? Again, you're centering your white feelings rather than empowering these immigrants and these community people of color. You're not challenging the system. Much of this outrage focuses on Trump as an individual. And a friend of mine, who's a friend of the broadcast, he said it great. Daddy's back. And a lot of these white folk, men and women, they're angry because this authoritarian figure is back. They see Donald Trump as nothing more than a dad that they don't like. This is my good friend, Javon Clark, right here. He expresses
Tell the American people something so we get this.
You gonna cut.
Men are not loved.
Yeah.
Men have to put their fucking foot in folks' ass. Men have to lay down the law. men have to lay down the truth.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is a man. The fact that all these fucking women hating him shows that he's doing exactly what men do. I'm despising my own motherfucking house. Because if I let the women do what they want to do, it'll be a fucking shit show.
Watch.
Men. Barack Obama didn't love America. Barack Obama treated America the way women want him to treat America. Bill Clinton treated America the way women. Donald Trump is treating America the way a man would treat America. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. White people only make up 7% of the world. Stop killing your fucking babies. We gonna die off. That's what Donald Trump says. Hey, Mexico, take your fucking criminals back. Canada, you need to be a part of the fucking USA. It costs us a lot of money to protect you son of a bitches. Russia, calm the fuck down. Y'all know we'll bomb on y'all motherfucking ass. China and North, y'all chill the fuck out too. Man shit. Barack Obama was giving Iran billions of dollars. Man shit. Men always gonna be hated. Men ain't loved or missed until we gone. That's when you look up one day and everything.
Shout out to my good friend Javon Clark, man. That's my Carolina homeboy, man. Shout out to him, man. It's always good to hear him speaking on it. I think he has a YouTube page, but look, family, I want to go ahead and run this thing on out. But the first thing I want to do, I have one more thing I want to talk about before we wrap this thing up. We got 13 super chats. I appreciate y'all. Look, man, make sure you hit the subscription button, man. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, or I'm sorry, just hit the like, man. Help me get these likes up. Let's keep this algorithm going. I try to keep it 100 with you. I know I have a very diverse audience at this point. Most of my brothers are still with me. They've been with me a long time. But these politics, man, they as they say, they give rise to strange bedfellows. So a lot of people are lying right now. You got a lot of people, black men especially, embracing their nationhood, embracing what it is to be an American. Many of the brothers who went passport bro, and they realized, damn, I like being an American. I like the way I get treated. That was the first time many of them have been treated and reaped the benefits of being treated like an American. So make sure if you like what I'm doing here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got 13 super chats. It would have been great to have 15. We didn't get 15, but that's all right. It's going to be a good night. But I want to go ahead and read these off to the fellas. Everybody, shout out to Red Sigma SA. Thank you so much, fam. Appreciate you. Lance Jackson, good looking out, man. I appreciate you too for the $49 super chat. 414 Momi, Jamaican lady, has no words, but I do. Bye. Who else we got? B. Tisdale, Bukele, don't play. Yeah, man, you don't want to go to El Salvador. I know they do not want to go to El Salvador. Wrench Turner, my man, said, I just purchased Gas Saver from the repo auction on Friday that belonged to a modern woman, still had a wig and a backpack in it. Hashtag true story. Shout out to you, fam. Chief Rocker, knowing how the system is, their labor will be replaced with prison labor. In part, yeah, but not always. You can't do it. It'll just be some new immigrants up here. They're not going to send them all home. Remember, THPP Network, thank you so much. Member for 10 months. Johnny Harris, they started unions to exclude black men. They did do that. That is very true. Shout out to THPP Network. Thank you so much. We got an excellent subject. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Cody Marshall came through heavy. We still only got 13 super chats, man. It'd like to get 20. That'd be plenty. But we didn't make it, but we still gonna take it. Thank you so much. He said, ice cold, baby, salute Uncle D. Hey, I was born in East LA, Cheech and Chong, Cody Marshall. And also TIQSC mumble rapping like Offset and Quavo. Look, fam. Look, there's a storm. All right, we have to weather this storm. Let's talk about, oh my God, I forgot to get my Cash App people in. Big shout out to Rihanna Ray. Thank you so much, Rihanna Ray. I appreciate you for the Cash App. Who else we got in here? We got to get, let me see who else we got. Let me see. I got some more people in here, fam. All right. Yeah, Rihanna Ray. That's my only Cash App, but that's all right. Shout out to Rihanna Ray. Shout out to everybody in here. But like I was saying, look, the current narrative is as follows. Did you guys enjoy the broadcast? If you enjoyed the broadcast, let me know you enjoyed the broadcast by hitting the #1 button. If you thought it was lively, it was interesting, you like this play-by-play, you like me yelling at you through the screen, man, hit the number 1 button. I appreciate that. And make sure you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button at least, man. Let's get these likes up. But where was I? So the current narrative surrounding immigration and labor is fascinating, isn't it? Oh, that's Rihanna. Oh, Reed Pink, thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Y'all check in too. Let me know where y'all checking in from. Where all my people at? Chicago, Detroit. Who else we got? Georgia, Florida, all my people, man. Texas, everybody check in. Let me know where you're checking in from. But again, I just find this fascinating, you know, and not necessarily in a good way, right? How history continues to repeat itself. When I listen to these white liberals, these so-called allies, okay? And I want you to understand something. I was raised in Los Angeles, California, and also 3rd Ward, Houston, Texas. I was raised in Los Angeles, California, but by a Mississippi family that had moved out to California. All right? Like I said, I can trace my roots all the way back to the 1600s, literally. I mean, I've been working on it for some time now. And when I say 1600s, I mean, I think 1661 was the oldest relative, and I'm still looking. So I have deep roots in this country. So I'm embedded in this country. I have the same values that most normal Americans have. I have some conservative values. I believe in certain things that people would say is a little liberal, and I believe in things that people would say is conservative. But the bottom line is, man, I'm pretty middle of the road, pretty common sense when it comes to it. And what I've noticed is I prefer dealing with Southerners, especially people who have conservative principles, because, you know, they're honest, you know. It's almost like these Democrats speak with 2 tongues, you see. They so-called allies, and I can't help but notice their concerns aren't about the humanity or rights of immigrant communities. No, their concerns are far more self-centered. They're worried about who's going to pick their fruit, who's going to clean their houses, and who's going to watch their kids. It's not about people being sent home and torn away from their lives here. It's about their inconvenience. It's about them. And I want you to think about that for a second. These are the same liberals who claim to champion diversity and equality and essentially mourning the loss of their cheap labor force. They're not talking about families being torn apart or children losing parents to deportation. No. What they're really saying is, who's going to be my servant? Now, doesn't that sound eerily familiar to you Black Americans? Because it reminds me of the South after the Civil War, when slavery was abolished and the Southern plantation owners were lamenting, they weren't lamenting the moral failure of the institution, they were lamenting the loss of their unpaid labor force. And here we go again. But it's a modern day, it's a modern day plantation politics disguised as progressive outrage. And they cry about crops rotting in the fields or businesses struggling to find workers, but they don't cry for people displaced by these policies, do they? And here's the kicker. The Democrats who claim to be champions of the marginalized are some of the biggest culprits. I've heard them say it's outright, who's going to pick the vegetables? That's their mindset. That's the mindset, brothers and sisters and everybody. Who's going to pick our vegetables? It's insulting to reduce an entire community to nothing more than laborers. And let me tell you something. I've employed folk from everywhere, and I don't dehumanize them. That's not appropriate. That's not how that works. You understand? That's not how you should see humanity, how they benefit you. And it's a bit distasteful to think about it like that. And I don't even think they realize it. And that's the true tragedy. Shout out to Johnny Harris, American Slave, a love story, right? You see? Now, when I look back, and I'm going to give you a little taste of history, and hopefully you guys will understand this. We want to try to connect some dots. It's funny how our Black Panther thinker types, those Black power and thinkers like Stokely Carmichael and Charles Hamilton, they warned us decades ago the risk of building coalitions with white allies, specifically the Democratic Party, right? And they predicted that these coalitions would end up weakening Black political power instead of strengthening it. And fast forward, here we are, and they called it. Then you've got the brilliance of someone like Derek Bell, who told us flat out racism isn't going anywhere. That's the same thing I told y'all earlier. It's permanent. You are not going to move people away from their strongly held beliefs, period. And that's okay. You can be as bigoted and racist as you want to. Okay, you don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. We have a job to get done. We got to sit in this foxhole together and point our rifles downrange because we have an enemy who wants to invade our country, or we have a war that we have to fight overseas. We don't have to like each other to do that. We have to stock this shelf together. And we got to get this done before our supervisor comes back. You don't have to like me. We have a job to do. But what I need you to, so when I say that, and that's okay. And I think a mature step for Americans, all Americans, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, we just have to accept the fact that some people are not going to like us and they can pick a reason, whether it be racism, bigotry, my religion, etc. It is what it is. It's permanent. Now, the thing about racism is it moves in cycles. There's progress, there's backlash, and then we repeat. Sound familiar? Look at what we're seeing right now. For years, we watched Black and white liberals alike climb the social ladder and collect their awards and these cushy jobs and these accolades, and all the while dismissing or ignoring these very truths. And they acted like progress was a one-way street. But we know better. There was a time when universities and organizations were begging for Black women to come to the podium, not to uplift the community as a whole, but to criticize Black men and Black empowerment. That was the trend. And now some of those same folks are clapping the Kimberly Crenshaw, right? Right? They were those folk, right? They're happy she's finally waking up to the realities of racism. But let's be real. Where was this energy when it came to the Black male victims of police violence? Where was the solidarity when some of these other atrocities have happened? Huh? Let's connect to something deeper. Remember what we learned from literature? When a group wants to destroy a population, first they target and always target the men and the boys. Why? Because they're seen as the protectors and the providers. They're the backbone of the community. We've seen this play out not just locally, but also globally. Look at the pattern of targeting Black men. That was ignored and downplayed. They told us you should work harder, stop resisting, study harder, pull yourselves up by your bootstrap. Remember that? And when you had a lot of Black male scholars and male studies groups, they were saying, hey, you know, they tried to downplay that. And in truth, it was a lot of anti-male, or I would say misandric aggression. And that's what we're dealing with. And they expect us to just sit back and act like we don't see it. Here's the irony. all this backlash we're seeing now with these mass deportations, revoking DEI programs, and cutting initiatives that even hint at leveling the playing field for Black folks and other minority groups or whatever. It's similar. It reminds me of a modern day Red Summer of the 1920s. Back then, you had white mobs, mostly men, destroyed prosperous Black towns like Tulsa, Rosewood, for no reason other than jealousy and fear of progress. And now they're doing it with policies instead of pitchforks. But the intent is the same. It's to cripple any avenue of advancement for people that are non-white. That's what you're seeing happen to these immigrants, putting them in their place. Again, as I said, racism moves in cycles, and this is what's happening. Okay? Now, again, I'm going to tell y'all this. The primary beneficiary of affirmative action has always and always will be white women. So the idea that they're trying to revoke these DEI policies, the emotional attachment is that it's putting these brown people in place, putting these Black people in their place, but in reality, it's going to affect white women. And we have to call it like it is. That is just how delusional racism is. Now, you're entitled to hold on to your racist beliefs. At some point, you're going to realize you're stupid. But if not, oh well. Okay? But they act like these programs, they act like regarding these programs, the Black folks are the problem. While the backlash might, it's going to sting, when they realize. Most Black men have been living outside of the system for the past 50 years. We don't go to church. We don't go to university like that. We don't. We don't necessarily participate in the political system to a large degree. So how are you going to take something from us that we don't have? We have to learn, and we have learned to navigate around the system, marriage, church, politics, and even mainstream economics, just to survive. So this storm that's coming, we weathered worse. And what we did tonight was begin to break down what we saw and what we're seeing. It's a warning from the elders. The evidence is right here in front of us. So, buckle up, because it isn't just a history lesson. It's about understanding the game and playing so we can stop being pawns and start playing to win. This is Dennis Sperling. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for your contributions. I truly appreciate you all. I hope you all appreciate this lesson. I try to be fair. I try to be understanding. I try to give you some knowledge. I try to give you some for all people to truly understand from a perspective that's open and honest. I don't really have anything to hold back from. You understand? I like doing what I'm doing. But either way, man, big shout out to everybody who contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Big shout out to everybody who came through tonight. I thank you all. I appreciate you all. And as I always say at this time, this is Uncle D, and I am Big Easy. Big shout out, man. We got 15 Super Chat. Y'all can take care of me in the comment section. If you like what I said, y'all can hit me up in the comments. We got 15 Super Chats. We did great. That's great. Thank you so much. This is Uncle D. I love you all. I mean it tremendous. Shout out to all the American folk out here, all whatever ethnicity you may be, man. I appreciate you entertaining this conversation. Thank you so much. God bless you. I love you. And I am.
Dennis Sperling Podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe.